It's a hospital, bro. Alright, that's not an enemy. Sounds normal, thanks, let me know. Alright, I said there was some background noise, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of sound there. Oh, there are lots of things in the world that are terrible and worse than smoking, but that's beside the point, isn't it? I do really want to hear some hot takes though. I'm going to be going over to Elden Ring in a minute, or we might even try and load up Death Stranding and start that, because I really want to dig into that game. And it's going to take a long time to play. Is it? Yeah, the game is kind of, it's supposed to just be background noise, because if I start having a conversation with somebody and then there's dialogue in the game, it just gets a mess. But yeah, what was I saying? I want to hear some hot takes, some unpopular opinions. I don't mind talking about smoking should be banned. I don't mind talking about humans inventing God. But I do want to hear something, you know, different, something exciting, something that makes me think. Yeah, I mean, edibles are a better alternative. I'm not pro psychoactive substances in any way, but if you had to make that kind of choice, which you don't, edibles are the better option. Hmm? You can what in your whole throat? What in the throat group talk is going on in this chat right now? You could do what? I'm gonna change the game right there. This algorithm is not it's not supporting this. But yeah, let's start now. Oh, I do want to play this. We'll let the stream run a bit when it like reaches its. Well, it's not like it's going anywhere right now, but when it reaches its like, you know, lull point, then we can switch over to like story based game. As it stands, I think we should ban it because of the harm it does, bro. It doesn't actually. Like the statistics is like 7.5 million people die every year from directly smoking, and 1.6 million people die from secondhand smoke. Then you got to think about all the damage it does to the environment, to your house, you know, the taxpayers' cost on your healthcare bills and the lost productivity. All of that is a very real concern. It's not just you that you hurt, and people tend to think that they live some kind of like atomized, isolated life where whatever happens to them doesn't affect anyone else, but it does, bro. It's like, what if you're a parent? What if you're like someone's caregiver? What if people are relying on you to be around? So you definitely do harm other people. Smoking and drinking aren't the same thing, quite obviously. Alright, so what's gonna happen is I'm gonna reboot the stream while we're still like 5 minutes in. Better that way. What the hell? What would be the good case for adults to not play video games, considering it's adults that make video games? I'd like to hear it. If you want to come up and tell me quickly, I want to know. I'm down for that. Should video games be banned? I don't think they should. I don't think there's good enough reasons. But come on, come tell me. I'll do this fight quickly, and then I'll restart the stream. I would like to know the case that you have for that. What are you talking about, Quan? Is it because you smoke weed and believe in God? Would God want you to smoke weed? Right, anyways, we're gonna restart the stream. I'm not diamond. What does that mean? Okay, you chill. Chill there, buddy. What we're gonna do is a test before we start. You gups. No. Why can't I run a test? That usually gets me run tests in real time. There it is. We're on a speed test. That's what we should always do before we start. I was a little bit eager to just go. Alright. Till we get this one out. But at the same time, there's pros and cons to this. If no one wants to watch, that also means I can just play what I want. It's like way past my usual window of when I stream. Not to say I don't want to play at all, but there are other games I want to play. So I play this game a lot. Still haven't completed the DLC, but the main game, like, fifth playthrough. There you go, put that there. Put this here. Right, so I can see. I can see you, but can you see me? Right, we're live. Whether the stream works or not, I'm not in control of that. But what I am in control of is saying humans invented God, and all known gods are psychological constructs that do not exist independently of the mind. If your God requires belief, imagination, or faith to interact with, it's fundamentally non-existent. Alright, there we go. Let's do this fight. Ah, I didn't buff. I'd love to say I got this, but it's a big sword you got there, bro. Oh. No, you finished me easy. Shh. Tapped. Right, yeah, I don't think we're in the right algorithm for this kind of stuff today. What's up, Nasir? That's a big thing to say. I appreciate that. I don't think my stream's gonna be seen today, Nasir. Looks like we're not. I guess like it's hard to balance life and streaming, so I kind of got to take the goods with the bads, I guess. So fine, we just build it up from the ground again, I guess. Like every couple of months, every couple of weeks, actually, this happens. When it's like you got to start from the beginning all over again, algorithmically. It's like it wants you to be online constantly every single day. It's like, no, I can't do that, man. I don't know what that means, user. I have no idea what that means. Yeah, that'd be great if there was someone to debate. That'd be great. I do want to hear some hot takes though, you know. Some unpopular opinions. I know people have got them, but people are scared to share them. If we could, can we tap that screen? Let's get them likes up. Get people in there to actually debate. Or tell us a crazy story. What have you guys been studying this week? If anything at all, I'd like to know. How did he pull that off? Go on, spam him. Oh, that was well timed. I gotta give it to the computer for that. Ah, you got me. That was well timed. Damn it. Oh, you got me again. No. Sliver of health. He got me. I'm closer. I'm dead. What? Damn. Bro, posture up, posture up, posture up. Fix it. Come on, one more. One more then. That's it. Hey, thanks for tapping that like. Nah, I don't real Russian. I don't think drinking should be legal either. It's literally poison. But that's besides the point. We can talk about that if you want. Come up, convince me why my shoulders disappeared. Yeah, we can talk about that too if you'd like. Yeah, the facts are pretty much. I mean, I haven't thought about it in a week to do the statistics off the top of my head. So there are 1.3 billion smokers in the world. 80% of all smokers start before the age of 20 and are chemically dependent before the age of 18. So it basically means the tobacco industry is a predatory industry, and it's basically designed to get kids addicted to tobacco substances basically for the rest of their life, so they can have like basically forever customers. Now one could argue illicit drugs like cannabis operate in a similar way, although it's not currently, well, it is getting there, although it's not currently marketed at the same type of you can say veracity, if that's the right word to say, that tobacco is. It works on a similar model. Majority of people who begin smoking cannabis begin smoking before the age of 20. It's absolutely terrible. TNT'd, why don't you come up and explain to me why I'm virtue signaling? Are virtues a bad thing? Or is it that you find what I'm saying cringy? Come and explain it to me. What would be a better use of my time, Prince Abraham? Could I be in your shoes and just scrolling and just saying stuff? Or could I be in my shoes, being productive and saying stuff? You want to hear humans invented God argument? It's been a while since I thought about that. So my position on that is, all known gods are psychological constructs and do not exist independently of the mind. If your god requires belief, imagination, or faith to interact with, it's fundamentally non-existent. It requires somebody to interact. It requires somebody to devise a concept of it for you to interact with, or you yourself have to devise a concept in order to interact with it. Historically, we can say, right, for all the thousands of gods that have ever existed and been talked about and documented, no person has ever discovered the god of another person's land, and that's just the way it is. Because God concepts have to be transmitted by word or by artifact. So given that, we've got more evidence of humans inventing all different types of gods than we have of gods existing independently of humans. Now that's not a tight argument at all, because it's been a while since I talked about it, but that's it in a nutshell. And how you would actually go about demonstrating that is you pull up the artifacts, you pull up the conceptual configurations of what gods are, the different frameworks that have been developed historically. It's just like polytheism, monotheism, henotheism, dualism, animism, etc., etc. You date where they came from, the earliest artifacts that pertain to those things. You can see, or you can take the sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. You could take the kind of cognitive science approach. You could cite Justin Barrett with hyperactive agency detection device, then build off of that. That's another way to walk you through the invention of gods. Pretty much all initial gods were elemental or celestial in nature, and it's basically just a series of humans assigning agency to elemental and celestial things. Then eventually, as their brains develop, they start assigning agency to abstract concepts like love, war, destruction, creation, etc., knowledge, as you can see as history goes. But yeah, that's kind of what brings us up to where we are today in terms of the gods that people believe in. But as far as those gods actually existing, there's no evidence of it. If I'm brainwashed, right, why don't you come up here and explain to me exactly what I'm brainwashed about and how it may have happened? Because from my point of view, for you to take that stance of everything you've just heard me say, it just clarifies your NPC status. Or confirms it, should I say. Like, how did you get that from this? Me brainwashed. No, that's not to say I'm like impervious to propaganda. I'm not. Definitely things I probably think are true which aren't, but they're worth investigating. So if you know what that is, come up here and tell me. Otherwise you should keep your opinions to yourself. Or not. Alright, so that's how you request up. You can see it's easy to be requested up. What do you mean pineapple? Well look, there's a level of institutional racism in almost all sectors of the economy, right? So that's a given. Yeah, I'm pro banning drinking as well, Remy. Come up, request up, and we'll talk about it. It's just that I don't know all of the Hey, congratulations. I don't know all of the facts and stats around alcoholism yet. I keep saying I'm going to study up on it, but quite busy at the minute. So it's lots of things I'm trying to learn, lots of things I'm trying to be productive in my life, and it's a lot to hold on to all these different strands of information, and like kind of, you know, goals and pursuits. It's a lot. So yeah, humans invented God, meaning there's no evidence gods exist independently of human minds. There's plenty of evidence that humans have been able to invent gods. But we've even got the cognitive theory on how they did it. So the initial invention of gods is when this is pre bicameral mind basically. Bicameral mind is just like a theory that suggests there was a point in time in human development or hominidae development where the human mind gained obviously the capability of consciousness, but then there was another element to it where they could hear a voice, which essentially is what we call our subconscious mind or our thinking mind, which thinks in mentalese, which is funny. But basically, yeah, early humans, there's a theory, it's theorized anyways, that early humans thought that internal monologue or dialogue, depending on what you are, right, was a god, and then they tried to externalize that. But that's one part of a cognitive theory on how they did it. But I think the main part of the cognitive theory that describes the invention of God is hyperactive agency detection. Okay, it makes the most sense. We can demonstrate it still exists and works in our day-to-day lives today. For example, for instance, a modern person is laying in bed at night, they're about to go to sleep, and they hear a loud bang somewhere in their house. They immediately assign agency to that bang. What does that actually look like in practice? So the mind will say, actually, right, that noise, that external stimuli, is an agent. An agent being someone or something that is acting on its own fruition, if that's how you pronounce it. Right? It's acting on its own behalf in simpler words. So they'll assign that bang that they hear in the bed to, oh, there's somebody breaking in. Oh, that's the dog that's jumped up and knocked something off the desk. That's a family member rummaging about, right? Then being able to assign that sensory data agency is what builds is that evolutionary trait that humans have. Now, our early ancestors used that same thing because it's a survival mechanism. Ultimately, it's it's what happens. It's part of the process of flight, fight, or freeze. Essentially, okay. I'll explain the rest of it in a minute. Oh, someone requested that, but they dropped down. I'll explain the rest and have time. All right, that guy cancelled. Anyways, all right. So how this works in ancestral mind, the ancestral mind, they would have saw rustling in a bush, right? Whether it's a woman or a man, right? They would have immediately assigned agency to that sensory data, the visual stimuli of the bush moving and the auditory stimuli of the bush moving, right? What this did as a survival mechanism was prep the human mind by, releasing various chemicals and stuff to enter either flight, fight, or freeze. By entering into flight, you have a greater chance of survival with your own genes and your, predecessors or whatever, whatever, right? The people that, your kids, okay, your future, your bloodline, right? But the person who stays and doesn't assign agency to the bush is more likely to die, right? But that same hyperactive agency detection device is what was built up around things like storms, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, meteor showers, and they did the same kind of assigning agency to it. As we developed our capability for conceptualizing became more advanced, then we started moving beyond observation into internally generated abstract concepts and then deifying those things as well. So the first types of gods that pop up throughout history are elemental and celestial. Elemental is like earth, wind, water, fire, celestial being suns, moon, stars, etc. Observational. Then the next kind of generation of gods become abstract in terms of ideas, which obviously require language, so you can track god concepts with human evolution, essentially, right? That's all there is really is to it. It gets deeper, but it's kind of long. Hello.
Hello?
Bro.
Okay, so you think smoking should be banned?
Oh yeah, like, can I get a name? Do you want to
Oh
be
yeah, my
addressed
name's
by?
Shaq. I'm 19. Okay.
Can you say that again?
So
Sorry, you said a bit quick.
Shaq.
Shaq.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Shaq.
So are you on the same stance with alcohol as well?
Yeah, but before we do that, like, I kind of usually ask a couple of questions if people want to talk about smoking being banned, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So obviously there's options. You can like give a random hot take or unpopular opinion, and we talk about that. You can talk about the God thing. We can talk about smoking. but I only have prerequisite questions for the smoking thing, if you don't mind, right? So, the first
All
question
right.
is: have you ever worked in the tobacco, in or around the tobacco or cannabis industries?
Cannabis, yeah. I don't smoke tobacco.
Okay, cool. Do you mind going into any further detail on what you did in that industry or what you do in that industry?
Uh, prefer not to say
That's that's
if you
totally
can
fine.
catch my drift.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, I'm not asking you to incriminate yourself. Obviously, I meant in a legal capacity. So,
Yeah, pharmaceutical, helping other people with their pharmacies.
cool.
Best way to describe it.
All right. So the second question I'd like to ask is: have you ever used either of those substances?
Yeah.
Last question I'd like to ask is: do you mind sharing what age you started using those substances?
16.
Cool. Floor is yours now. Like you can raise any points you want to make about it.
I just think that it should really be like left up to like the user itself. I mean, also we've seen, or at least in America, what happens when you like ban substances. They really just don't go away. They just become black market, and it just becomes more harmful because at that point it's in the hands of like dealers, like
So
people that are like not like
that's not
medical card getting, but like
you're not
like
listen. You're not completely wrong, but it's a half truth, right? So what you're referencing is obviously the American prohibition with alcohol, right? Am I wrong?
yeah.
All right.
But
So
also, I'm wait, hold on. I was going to talk about other drugs as well. Like, let's look at something like cocaine. That's
mhm.
obviously banned. So most people who sell cocaine also sell like harmful drugs and also do harmful things when they sell cocaine,
Right, but
right?
you
Compared to people
realize,
that just sell
but
cannabis.
wait, slow down. You realize at a certain point in time, cocaine was legal and was prescribed by doctors, just like alcohol, just like tobacco, just like almost any other substance like that you can think of. You realize that?
Yeah,
Yeah. So society had to actively decide, no, 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 let's stop using this because it's harmful. Now, making it banning something and making it disappear are two different things. Like, there's no good reason why humans should delete a whole species or plants off the planet because we can't control our impulses. So that's they're two different things there. But legalizing something is kind of in the realm of what we're talking about, having it highly accessible and legal.
I think it being highly accessible is better than it actually being gone because like a good portion of Americans also just get medical cards now. They're not just going and saying, "Oh yeah, I want to get it off the street." Like a good portion are actually going to doctors and
So
just getting it prescribed to them.
although that's true, there are pros and cons to that, right? Because cannabis kind of exists in that kind of grey area where regulation is at the minute, in the same way cocaine did, and in the same way alcohol did. So one of the interesting things of from the prohibition in America, you could still legally get alcohol prescribed to you by a doctor for things like pain and anxiety. So they prescribed you whiskey in a similar way to what's happening with cannabis right now, and what happened prior to that with cocaine and like other types of opioids. It's a bit further back there, like like I want to say like 1800s, 1700s opium wars, that kind of thing, right? But yeah, cannabis is currently being exploited in the market in the same way as other substances have been before. But the problem is that people fail to realize is like everyday street user is one thing. Your perception of it is like street level, personal level. But then you have to zoom out into a corporate level and then a countrywide level, right? The exploitation risk of legalizing cannabis, then privatizing it and commercially making it viable, brings with it specific types of harms versus tobacco production. Tobacco
Okay, but
kills
do
you.
you think?
No, wait, let me
Hold
just
on.
finish, right? Tobacco kills you, right? Destroys your respiratory system. Cannabis can also do the same damage to your respiratory system, but it also has the added psychological risk, which is why commercializing it makes it harder because you create a chemical arms race to make it more potent to sell more of it. Okay, that's why it gets dangerous when you privatize it and commercialize it.
Okay, so do you know how like codeine, promethazine, and other types of syrups you can get, correct? Like from you can get prescribed those.
But
And
yeah,
you know that like usually people can abuse those and those can also be really harmful.
so
So, but like those aren't stuff that you can just pick up off the street. So that's gonna happen with like any sort of drug that like you can just low key buy. Anybody can go exploit it. Anybody can go get harmed. I mean, painkillers,
no,
Percocets, you
I
can
think
literally get
I
those.
think you missed the point of what I'm saying though, right? In terms of accessing those types of harder drugs that you just described, those are actually like medical setting or medical grade drugs. They're actually being produced by big pharma companies, and
And do you know how
people
much
are
big pharma
accessing
drugs
them
end up on the street
illegally.
though?
Of course they do, right? There's no doubt about that. Of course they do, bro. I'm well aware of that. Right? Don't get me wrong, but you got to understand the intention behind their production is different to the intention behind, commercializing cannabis. Now, if you was to say, all right, medical marijuana, the best benefits from it will come from CBD or THC extracts and things you can go on to make with that, like just like I would make other medicines. But if you're talking about medical marijuana in terms of recreational smoking, I think you're blurring the lines there, and that's kind of dangerous.
Is it kind of dangerous in the same
Yeah.
sense of like, cause like to be honest, that's really just user on user. Cause if you take a survey about a bunch of smokers, like even the ones in this chat, I'm pretty sure like around 50% of them are gonna say, "Well, I smoke every day and I'm okay," and
Yeah, of course
50
they
other
would.
percent can be like, "Well, I smoke and I have problems." You know,
Yeah, but they could also
that
be
in of
like that
itself
Squidward
becomes a
meme though,
gray
bro.
area.
Yeah, so like you don't. I understand what you're saying in terms of like a sociological type of data collection, but if you're talking about in a scientific type of data collection, then it's labs, actual studies like controlled studies. Now,
Okay, so what strain are we
decriminalizing,
talking about then?
not
What
particularly
strain are we
strains,
talking
right?
about?
Decriminalizing cannabis makes it easier for scientists to actually study it. But in terms of taking people's anecdotal experiences just off the street, that isn't enough to verify that their smoking of it counts towards medicinal use. Because
But
here's
when
one
you
of the
hold on,
clearest
can I
reasons
bring
why.
something out? Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
You realize that like scientists and other people tampering with cannabis undoubtedly makes it worse if you just allow other people to tamper. That's why it's kind of better to not like go buy just labs
Well,
because like most likely it's gonna like be infected. So
that's not
would
that's
you
not
rather
true,
want it to
right?
be like
So
that?
for two problems with that, right? What you're actually regurgitating is big cannabis propaganda. That street level cannabis is actually laced and all bad things are happening. That is big. That's basically commercialized propaganda working
Well,
against the
like
people.
most THC you
Listen,
get
no,
isn't even pure
no,
THC
but
though.
lis-
You know that,
but
right?
listen, what I'm trying to explain to you in terms of your view about scientists tampering with cannabis, it's ridiculous because if you think about it like this, the natural cannabis plant, right, prior to skunk being invented, but towards the end of the 70s, its THC content was lower than 10%, naturally grown. This is like what Rastas would call sensi and all these kinds of things. Things that if someone offers you today, you'd be like, oh, that's bushweed, I don't want that. That's the original cannabis, okay? So what you're accessing today is already the genetically modified version of it. It is the chemical or biological warfare version of it. Okay, so when you're saying,
That's
oh,
why I asked you what
so
strain are
when
we
you
talking about?
it's not important because we're talking about it as a
But it is
whole.
important because when you're talking about the stuff you're smoking
Yeah,
today is tampered, you have to mention the strain
I'm
because
not the
that
one
is
making that
important
point.
when talking.
Right, that's the thing. You're the one making that point, and I just
I
debunked
know,
that.
but like I
But
can
but
bring up a
listen,
strain though.
I
I can say a
I
strain and
literally
say, well,
just
this strain is going to be
listen.
different from this one, though.
Of course it would. It'd be like this is a cherry tomato. This is a normal tomato. This is a Granny Smith apple. This is a Of course, right? I'm aware of that. But what you raised about it being tampered on the street is commercialized propaganda to make people go to these dispensaries and spend that way to fund what will become tobacco 2.0. What you're propagating is a lie, essentially. Majority of the
You're
people
saying
who
I'm propagating a lie.
Yes, from that side, right. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of like still manning a cannabis side when I'm making this point, right? It's like an internal critique. So majority of the people who have ever bought a bag of weed on the street did not get spiked by their dealer. Okay, let's just be clear about it. Now there may be instances of people putting like taste enhancers and stuff like that, but they didn't get spiked by their dealer. That kind of lie is being propagated by people who want to commercially or legally sell you cannabis. So you have to keep that in mind, right? Like I just said, the danger of privatizing and commercializing cannabis is stuff like that. The reality is they want you as a customer, just like the tobacco industry wants you as a customer. The health benefits or the health downfalls aside, they don't care, right? They want customers. So you have to make a clear, like, line in the sand. When you start talking about medicinal cannabis, you're talking about extracts that are produced by big pharma or like cottage industry type of people. Okay,
Okay, but like
not
if
just
you're
going to a dispensary like a sweet shop and picking up buds and smoking them. That is not medicinal use. Okay.
That depends. It
No.
depends. I mean, you can say if you don't get a medical card to buy it, it's not
No.
for
The
medicinal
the
use. But
medical
like
the medical
somebody in the
card
chat just said
is
it.
just a
I smoke for their
pretense.
chronic illness.
Yeah,
Somebody in the
yeah,
chat just said
that's
it. You
fine,
could.
right? They can say that, but remember what I said to you earlier on. Cocaine was once prescribed like that. Tobacco was prescribed like that, and alcohol was prescribed like that. Right? That's
Yeah,
just a
but
pretense.
cocaine. But
That's a
listen, listen.
pretense. That's not a
Cocaine
medical
and weed are
reality.
two different types of substances,
Of
though.
course, I'm
You would
just trying
agree.
to
You'd agree.
demonstrate. Yeah, of course, I'm trying to demonstrate to you the legal loophole that you're talking about. You're talking about
Do
the
you know
medical
what type
card.
of? But like, hold on. But like, you're making it seem like cocaine was legalized. There's also a
It
reason
was.
why they kind of
They used
realized
to
they had to
prescribe it
push
to
back.
kids. They used to
But you
prescribe it to
understand they
kids,
had to push
fam.
back though.
They used to
You realize
prescribe.
they knew
They
they had
used
to
to
push back, right?
prescribe. They used to prescribe cocaine to kids, right? They used to
Do you
prescribe
but hold
tobacco
on. Can
to
you
people
answer my
with.
question real
Do
quick,
you know?
bro?
Say again, sorry.
You you realize that they realize there's a reason they have to push back and unlegalize it, correct?
In what way? The harm it causes, perhaps yes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm not.
So
I'm not actually
you
sure
can
if that
agree.
was the
Wait, but I just need
reason
to
why
ask
it
you a
was
question.
banned.
On a
I think it had
baseline,
more
you
to
think?
do with
Hold on.
cartels.
I have a question.
Self
You think
conversation.
that cocaine is more harmful than weed, right?
Well, personally, I don't know. I don't like to compare apples and oranges in that kind of sense.
Okay.
I don't
One
know.
you could overdose on.
Yeah,
One you couldn't, right?
yeah.
Okay. One
That doesn't set
Wait,
your
hold on,
safety
hold on, hold
parameters
on.
though in terms of
One
consumption.
accident and wait, hold on. Usually you could accidentally overdose on coke without knowing. Correct?
I don't know. I haven't studied it, so I don't know.
All right. So I've studied some narcotics, okay? I
The
took a whole class on
but
narcotics.
with all due respect, the comparison you're making is like a false. It's just it's a how can I put this without actually calling it out for what it is? It's a fallacious argument. We're not comparing cannabis and cocaine, just like we're not comparing cannabis and alcohol.
I mean, but you're bringing up the fact that it
That's a
was
pointless
legalized.
thing. Yes, that was to represent how you're talking about medical marijuana cards, right? And using those cards to access dispensaries. Having a card is just a piece of paper that speaks to more about, bureaucracy than the actual effect of the substance. That's what I was trying to point out to you. So yes, a doctor could prescribe cocaine, just like a doctor can prescribe cannabis. But that doesn't mean it's actually being used for what's stated. That's all I was trying to represent.
That's on the user. That's not on the people or the whole business side. That's on the people.
All right. So
Like
do we blame
with any
customers?
people can find loopholes
Listen?
with anything. Like if
Do
wait,
we
hold on.
blame
If you want,
customers?
hold
Do
on.
we blame customers for products that don't work?
If they keep buying them, yeah,
Do
common
we,
sense is
right,
gonna
but
tell
it's
you not
not.
to buy it
But
if it
it's
doesn't
not the
work.
customer who's producing the product, so we don't blame the customer when the product doesn't work. Okay,
Yeah, but this is different because to be honest,
it's not different because
yeah, but
you're
to be
talking about
honest, you
you're
can get
talking
that
about it in a
same product from
commercialized
somewhere
setting.
else.
It's not
You can
different.
get that product, but you don't have to have a med card to get that product. That's
Yes,
just one way. That's just
I
one way. To
understand. I
be honest,
understand. Right.
you could grow it yourself, right? You realize, you can grow it yourself. You could
Yes, of
also buy it
course.
in other forms that aren't just the plant, like wax or edibles or pangs, right? There's other ways to receive said product
Yes, I'm aware.
as
Right, but
well.
what are we talking about right now? We're talking about smoking it.
So even better. So do you think we should ban wax too? So no more dabs?
I don't know what wax is.
Yeah, I forgot there's levels to this.
Yeah, it's called being a
THC
drug
wax.
addict.
You said being a drug addict.
That's the levels that you're actually describing there, right? If you're passing on information, like in a scientific sense,
That's
then
not really
you
an
just
addict
you
though.
just
Me
explain
saying
it, right?
wax and no, me
If you're
saying
saying
that
like, oh, this
no.
is the THC we extracted, yeah, they thought about that back in the day. It's called resin. It's called hash, right? But there's just new versions of
No,
it.
hash is different from live
Right,
resin, bro.
so that's what I'm trying to
Hash is
explain to
different
you.
from live
Yes,
resin.
there is different.
Hash is different from live resin.
All right, cool.
You know that, right?
No.
It's important to me that you know that.
What did you say? Sorry.
I said hash is different from live resin. Because you were the one that said, oh, it's called hash, it's called resin. But I
All
don't know.
right,
I
so
feel
no,
like you can't make a statement
I
like
think you
that if
missed
you
the
don't know the
point.
definition.
I think you missed the point. No, I don't know what wax is, okay? So you can explain to me what wax is. All I was trying to say is, yes, there are different ways to use the plant. That's all I was describing, okay?
Yeah, but knowing the different ways to use it doesn't inherently make somebody a drug addict. You
Yeah,
can't
but
say, oh, yeah, you're a drug
me
addict just because you know that there's
injecting
an
that in
edible
there.
and there's wax.
Yeah, me injecting that comment in there is just rhetoric. Right? You don't actually have to address it. But I do think that, so you can know I do think that.
Okay, so you can think that me knowing the difference between edibles, wax, and THC makes me an addict. I think that
In the
just makes me
context.
more informed on the subject.
No, yes, I
Literally,
agree.
no
You
offense,
are more informed because you're more adept at using it, right? So yeah, like okay, but to the main
right?
point, why do you think it should be banned? It shouldn't be banned. Sorry.
Okay, I think it shouldn't be banned because one, it doesn't really cause harm. To be 100% serious, it
So
doesn't really.
that's not true.
Like you can say it's not true, bro.
I
You
can give
can
you
say I'm
facts.
lying.
No, I wouldn't
You
tell
can
you.
say
Look, I don't have to attack you. I can just talk about what you're saying, right?
but you can bring up facts and surveys, but I
Yeah,
could bring up a whole nother
and
survey that
science.
says cannabis is positive though.
And
You
science, yes.
realize that, right?
There's almost everything that exists in this life, right? You can extract a positive and a negative of it from it, right? But what happens is, in a very utilitarian type of way, we try to balance the most positive with the least negative, okay? So when I say to you, smoking should be banned, that's a statement from that same type of utilitarian place. The negatives outweigh the pros. So if you could get the positive benefits from cannabis without smoking it, that would be the greater idea to pursue, right? So when you start saying cannabis smoking isn't harmful, and I start telling you about brain development and the damage it does to your prefrontal cortex, and cannabis isn't addictive, and how that actually plays into chemical dependency with things like your dopamine production, it's clear that you're misinformed and you're actually lying about the facts on smoking cannabis, right?
Okay, so you're saying I'm lying, right? Somebody in the comment literally just brought up another good point. All those stuff you said, if I bring up an article or something that disproves that, are you gonna take that as serious or are you gonna think it's a bias
I would
one? Because I'm
investigate.
100.
I'd investigate the article if it's actually saying something substantial. But you got to understand there are peer-reviewed studies on both sides of the field. We're not actually necessarily on the opposite side, but there's been a lot of work done around cannabis. As I said earlier on, decriminalizing it makes it a lot easier to legally study it, and that's when we'll start getting better information. But yeah, like if you bring an article, I'll investigate it, right, to see if it actually makes sense.
Okay, what exactly is it that you said cannabis does that is
So,
so bad?
right, you can look it up, right? Users that begin to use cannabis before the age of 25 significantly increase chances of damaging their development of their prefrontal cortex, which could reduce the IQ points by 6 to 8, okay? It also has other problems with your, I forget what it's called, your executive functions, things like memory, things like recognition, things like motor functions when using it, okay? Those things considered, there's data to support that. This is what I'm saying on my side of the fence. That's just part of it. There's more to it.
Where'd you get that from? Where'd you get that from?
Just Google it, bro. World Health
No. Like
Organization, and yeah,
which
what
specifics?
World Health
Which specific?
Organization, World Health Organization, and National Institute of Health. I think, right? Go look it up.
Are you sure? Because some people said it's before the age of 16, which
Well,
I mean
before
that
the age
makes
of
sense,
so
but that's
25 is around where you biologically are developed in terms of your brain, right? So pre 25, you're at significantly high risk of damaging your brain.
all right. Is it on a teenage brain or on
That's any
like is
brain,
it on a?
right? An
It's on.
adolescent brain. Any brain
All
before
right.
the age of 25. Right now, you're not removed from that risk after 25, just like anyone who has background history or family history of mental illness is significantly at more risk of cannabis-induced psychosis. You're not removed from that risk without the family history. You can still get cannabis-induced psychosis, okay? So it's just what the data represents currently.
Okay, I'm trying to find the exact specific data though,
Look
and
it
the
up.
varies and like the study. Usually, and I looked up and I said your statement. Usually, the studies are saying that if you start when you're a teen or a child, it does that. But that makes sense because it's
So,
starting when you're like
but
an
remember what I
adolescent.
said. Remember what I said. It's pre-25. So yes, that would that would encapsulate children and teenagers as well, right?
Okay,
Encompass,
but
sorry.
you can drink alcohol around 21, and people can agree that
All
alcohol
right.
will
So
still ruin.
yes, that's an arbitrary number, right? So in terms of things like, I know this is going to be a different type of topic which we can discuss, but things like the age of consent, the age that you should be working, the age you should get married, etc. Those are all arbitrary. They're social constructs. They're social constructs that we devised for various different cultural needs. They're not biological realities like the 25 brain
Well, I
development.
mean, age of consent is something that like should be agreed upon, or that
Yeah,
like
but it
at
is a
least
social
some age.
construct. Now, biologically, right, there's definitely a cutoff age which you should not be going beyond. or under. Right? Biologically, yes. But in terms of you saying you should be married at 16 or should be in the army at 18 or whatever, those are social constructs. Like you can't smoke before 21 or can't drink before 21. Those are social constructs. Because if you look across the border, over there you can do it at 18, over there you can do it at whatever age, right? Those things aren't biological realities. That's what I'm pointing out to you. But brain development being damaged before the age of 25 is a biological reality. It's not a social construct.
Okay, so if you're saying stuff like 18 and 21 are social constructs, then are you saying that you should not use those ages to determine when you should smoke, or like,
I think if your actual intention is to like maximize life potential in terms of healthiness, happiness, all kinds of other like, capitalistic measures you want to consider, right, your best bet is to not indulge in anything that is psychoactive at all if you can avoid it. Unless it's like, you've gone to the hospital for an operation or something and you have to get medical supervision. But if you're talking recreationally, there's not a set day because it's damage. Like it's some people can be exposed to a substance once and it can set them off, and some people can have a higher tolerance and resistance over time. Okay? But if you want to be safe, don't at all. It's quite simple.
okay, so you would say that they're positive to smoking, right?
Say again?
You would say there are positives to smoking?
No. In terms of balancing them against the negatives, no, there aren't.
All right, now I just think you're being ignorant.
I'll tell you
Now I
why.
just think you're being
I'll tell
ignorant.
you why, right? Because
No,
smoking.
no.
I know. I'll
I
tell you
literally,
why,
people have been bringing it up
brother.
in your
Listen,
chat the whole
you
time.
have
I
to
don't know if you
listen.
read or pay attention.
You
I
have to
have.
listen.
I've been listening.
Right? I'll explain
But
why, right? The things that you would say are positives from smoking
okay,
cannabis in this example, right, is talking about the chemical reaction in the plant, the THC, with your dopamine receptors. Using cannabis lights up your dopamine, it upregulates it, meaning it produces more, e.g., what makes you feel good, what people reports makes them feel better about pains and other sensations in their life, because it's psychoactive. But the act of burning it and inhaling it does more damage than that pro does in terms of benefit, because it scars your lung, it raises
okay.
your blood
So,
pressure and your heart
all
rate.
right.
It puts you at risk of damaging your brain, and it also puts you at risk of cannabis induced psychosis. So if you ask me, does smoking have pros? No, in comparison to the cons. They're not
You can
worth
get
mentioning.
psychosis from not even smoking, though. You realize that, right?
No
You realize
shit.
this. You realize you
Yes,
can get
I do know
psychosis
that. Yes,
from
I
other
do.
things.
Of course I know that.
All right.
Right, but there's actually
Yes,
something
other
called
drugs can cause psychosis,
there's
right?
actually
Like
some
Benadryl.
yes, that
If you
might be
just take
true.
too many Benadryls,
Bro, that might be true, but there's something
that's over the
studied.
counter.
There's something.
Do we
I
start
think it
banning
was
Benadryl?
the University of London who did a study on Amsterdam and London, but cannabis-induced psychosis is actually a specific type of psychosis. Okay, so it's like it's a main factor in it, right? And they're saying I forget it was like 50% higher risk or something like that, particularly Londoners and in Amsterdam. That's where the study was conducted, right? But yeah. So there might be cocaine-induced psychosis, there might be Benadryl-induced psychosis, but no one has coined that as an actual term from a study yet. But cannabis-induced psychosis has been coined.
Okay, yeah, cannabis-induced psychosis when you use cannabis too much and you get in a
No,
psychosis. A
it's not.
Benadryl one is like you can do
Listen,
that with any drug though.
listen.
Hold
You
on,
can
hold on,
set.
hold on.
Look,
I'm
no.
trying
I
to
just have to
explain. I'm
clarify. I
trying to.
have to
I let you
clarify.
talk
No,
for
no,
like a whole
because
five
if you're
minutes.
saying
I let you have your
misinformation,
whole convo, bro.
respectfully,
I let you have your
respectfully,
whole
I
convo.
can't allow misinformation. It's not long-term abuse only. It can be one-time use. So you have to be clear. People like to blame the customer and not the product. Oh, there's something wrong with you because you got psychosis. There's something wrong with you because you whiteyed. No, right? It's the
Because if I
product.
interview
Okay?
100 people that smoke and 100 say, "Oh, I haven't," are you just gonna say,
Right.
"Okay, well,
So
their opinions don't matter"?
no, it's
Like
not.
if you bring up a
It's not.
survey of every
No, no,
smoker
no.
and you ask,
It's
"Hey,
not
did you
that
get
their
a
opinion.
psychosis?"
Listen, it's not that their opinion doesn't matter. It's whether they've actually been seen by someone who can assess that. You being able to make a self-assessment about my psychosis or lack of psychosis does mean
Okay.
nothing to a clinical professional because it's like the Squidward meme, right? You know the Squidward meme where he's holding like a cross of the Bible and he's all whacked out and the fishes are holding their children. The person who's using drugs is Squidward in that moment, but they can't see themselves. So
Even better. If you get
self-reporting is only so good, right? If you have a clinical
Okay.
professional look at it, they might say otherwise. That's what I'm
Okay, so
saying,
you're
okay?
saying it only takes a clinical professional. No, it can't be up to the users or people that know the
Right.
users to say, "Oh no, I'm good."
So
You're saying only a clinical professional
if
can
you look
say
at
it?
things like I think it's NPD, narcissism basically. People who are on that spectrum of narcissism or at the extremes of it do not know that they are narcissist in that capacity. They need to be diagnosed as that to be able to tell you or to be told that that's what's happening to them, okay?
Do you think do you think narcissism and psychosis are in the same realm? Yes or no?
Narcissism, bipolar disorder, various other
And
mental
psychosis,
ailments,
no. Do
right?
you think narcissism and psychosis are in the same realm?
They are all mental illnesses, okay? They're all
Okay,
mental
but do
illnesses.
you think narcissism in a sense of someone
They are
being a
in the same
narcissist?
category. They're in the same category, right? You have to realize that you're talking about mental health. They're in the same category. Now, there's a spectrum of what's worse. Of course, you'd rather be someone that's a bit of a prick than someone that's having a complete derealization. I'm sure, right? But it gets deeper than that. That's what I'm trying to explain.
For something like okay, for something like narcissism, right? For something like narcissism, right? If you just ask somebody's friend, "Oh, do you think your friend is showing signs?" and they go, "Yeah," the same
Yeah,
way,
yeah,
you
that's
don't think you could do that with somebody that smokes cannabis?
yes, you
Like, just
could,
ask their friend or family,
but
and be,
to be able to say it in an official capacity means something completely different. All right, you could be a what like
all right.
a
So what you're
Vacnid
saying,
would
but like,
call a
if you're saying
self-styled
that, but if you're
expert, but
saying,
that doesn't
hold
mean
on,
anything.
if you're saying,
You could be
you realize what you're
wrong.
saying though. You're saying, hold on, you realize what you're saying though. You're saying that like in order to tell if somebody's okay or not, they have to go to a doctor and clinically have that doctor say, "Oh, you have
In an
cannabis-induced
official
psychosis," or "You don't have
yes, in
cannabis-induced
an official
psychosis."
capacity, you do, right? Because there needs to be some type of. I know this is kind of dread, like in kind of an appeal to authority type of thing, but you do need some credentials to be able to say that in an official capacity. The problem is people can miss when you're talking about things like mental health, right? It's not a hard science like physics, okay? It's a soft science, but it also does depend on things in biology. So people who are well trained and studied on it have a better chance of actually explaining what someone's experiencing than someone who isn't. For instance, you could like read a bunch of magazines, even read some papers and be like, "Oh, I'm going to diagnose my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my cousin, my sister and see if they're on the narcissist spectrum, see if they're schizophrenic, see if they're bipolar," but be completely wrong. Okay, because you don't have the context or the experience to examine people. You don't understand psychoanalysis. So your opinion
I
about what
mean,
they
you don't
are
smoke weed, so
doesn't
I can
mean
say
that
your opinion on
much.
smoking is wrong, though. You understand
That's an
that, right?
opinion. That's like a two quo or whatever fallacy, right?
I mean, is it an opinion though? Because
Yes, it's
you
an
didn't know the
opinion.
difference between wax. You
All right,
didn't know
so
what wax or resin was.
here's a
You didn't
parody.
know what
Right, so
hash or resin was,
here's a
though.
parody. Do I need to have committed a murder to know about murders?
No, let me
There you
use a
go.
better
Right. So
example. No,
argument
no, no, no,
defeated.
no, no, no,
Argument
no. But
defeated.
if you're
Argument
in here
defeated.
saying,
Right.
no,
Argument
no, if
defeated.
you're saying,
Move
no,
on to the
listen,
next
wait for me to
point.
fucking talk, bro. You're gonna,
There
you just
isn't. You
like,
you already defeated your own argument. So what
no,
is there
no,
to
no.
say?
But if you're gonna go up and, but you're not gonna say what types of murders are different or that,
I
right? You're
can.
not gonna
I
say,
can
oh,
because I can
hash is
look it up.
this.
Because I can look it up.
But you didn't. Did you look up what hash and resin was? Because you didn't know what they
I know
was.
what
You literally were
I know
wrong.
what hash and resin is. I don't know what wax is. Okay, it's like for instance,
No,
I know what a
no.
Pringle
You
is, right?
just said
No, I'll
live
give you an
resin was
example.
hash. You just said live resin
I'll
was
give you.
hash, bro.
No,
You just
what are you
said live
talking
resin
about?
was
All right,
hash,
so
so you don't
you
know.
can rewind the
You don't know. You
conversation.
just said live resin was
All right,
hash.
so relax, calm down, right? I'll give you an example, right? I can know what crisps are. In America, you call them chips. Crisps as like a genre of food, I can know individual things about that. Oh, there's potato chips, there's corn chips, there's banana chips, right? You coming to me and telling me a niche type of chip that I don't know doesn't mean I have no knowledge about the general subject of chips.
If
Okay?
you call something that's completely
It
different
means
the
you
same
are
thing
aware
as
of something.
another,
Listen, it means you are aware of something that I'm not aware of. So when I said to you, yes, it's true, I don't know what wax is, right? But what was I actually making a point about with the hash and the THC extract? So I'm saying, yes, there are different ways to use this plant. That was the point originally. You could rewind it and check for yourself.
word. Because if we rewind, it's gonna call you saying that means you're a drug addict to me when I brought
Yeah,
up the difference.
I did say that, and I told you it was rhetoric, and then I went even a step further, but it went over your head. Okay, so like, yes, that did happen. All right, so
Like,
so
for real. Also, like the person said, wax isn't niche. That is so popular.
In
And
your
the fact
world,
that you know what hash is
in
and
your
resin is
world,
just, I think you're using
right?
buzzwords,
In
to be
your
honest.
world,
I
in
think you
your
use
world, that is
buzzwords.
of
I think your
significance.
argument
But
is
it's
built,
not
I
in
think
it
you
like.
just like using buzzwords,
So
bro.
for an example, right,
Because I literally called you out
brother,
on being
listen.
wrong, and you said no, 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 I'm not.
You're coping.
Literally,
You're
you were
coping so
being so
bad.
right. You
You're
was
coping
talking
so
all this
bad, right?
extra.
You are
You were
coping
saying
so
all
bad.
this.
All right. So if you go speak to someone who's been smoking weed since the 70s, right? There's a good chance that they might not know what the popular kids are using today, because they've just been smoking weed, regular weed, since the 70s. Okay.
But you
Your
don't even smoke weed. You're
your
not from
whole
the
point.
70s.
Like I
Stop
said,
talking like
that is a
you're not
fallacious
from the 70s, bro.
argument. I just asked you,
But you aren't from the 70s.
do
You
I
aren't.
need, all right, do I
You
need
was
to
born in the
do listen,
2000s, bro.
listen. Do I need to commit a crime to know about the crime?
You need to know about the drugs before you start false claiming what
No,
drugs
no,
are.
you
That's what you
don't.
do.
No,
That's what you
you
do, bro.
don't. No,
I'm not
you
gonna call
don't. Are you?
codeine
All right, look.
promethazine.
So
No,
this is
bro.
obviously like
Literally, you
I'm trying to
do.
speak to
You
a brick
can't
wall
go
here.
on your
Okay.
live and say, well, this is this or this is that. And then when
All right.
somebody
So
proves you wrong, you go, oh, well, just because I'm wrong
you
doesn't mean
didn't
this and
prove me
that.
wrong about anything. All
You
right.
literally said live resin was
Listen.
hash.
No, I didn't.
You proved yourself wrong.
No, I
You
didn't.
did.
All right.
And
Anyways,
then
all
when
right.
I said, no, it's
Anyways,
not, you called me a
listen.
drug addict.
Please listen. All right, because I don't want to drop you straight away. I'm giving you a chance. All right. So to the point. All right. Remember why I asked you. What is your strongest point why smoking shouldn't be banned, right? And you alluded to some health benefits, and I debunked that. Do you have any other points to offer, or are you just gonna cope?
How am I coping? How am I coping?
So
Explain how I'm coping.
I'm gonna take that as a
No, how am I
concession
coping?
that you
What
don't
do you
have any other
mean?
points.
So
Okay,
you can't explain how I'm coping.
so
You can't explain
you
how
are
I'm coping.
coping based on the whole last 5 or 6 minutes of our
No, no, no.
conversation.
Explain how I'm
So
coping. Can you
do
just
you
explain
have
how I'm coping?
do you,
Can you explain how I'm
your
coping, bro?
attitude
Can you explain how I'm coping? No,
currently?
don't say attitude. Bring up a point. That's not how debates and arguments work.
Repeating a point as if it was going to land any differently than the first time you said it.
No, my whole point is
That's
that you're
coping.
uneducated on a
That's
topic. Somebody
coping.
said it better than
Right.
how? You saying you're uneducated? You saying you're too
You have
uneducated?
vested interest in this topic. Okay. I'm
You're saying,
asking you,
are you
do
educated or are
you
you
have a
not
point?
uneducated? Yes
Do
or no?
you have a point that
Yes or
cannabis
no? Are you
shouldn't be
educated?
banned?
Yes or no?
I'm going to give you
Are
one
you
more
educated?
opportunity
Yes
to
or
stop being
no?
disruptive. I'm going to give you one opportunity to stop being disruptive, right? Raise your best point why smoking shouldn't be banned. Right? Because disruption is just a cope tactic, to be honest with you.
Okay, so if I answer this, you're gonna answer my question, right?
I might.
No, no. Are you yes or no? Don't hit me with the I might.
If it's part of the main conversation, I might. If it doesn't have anything to do with the main conversation, I might not. Right?
Are you
So
educated on
the
THC? Yes or
question,
no?
there's levels to information in all fields. I know some things about it, but I don't know everything about it. Okay, does that answer your question sufficiently? All right, now will you answer my question? What is your best point why it shouldn't be banned?
Um, if you take a survey about most people that smoke, most of them are gonna say they don't have negative side effects. And you can say, oh, well, that's not from
All
a
right.
medical person, but literally, I really don't care. To be honest,
So,
like,
so you
I don't
don't
care
actually
if
want
you
to have
think
this conversation because we've already been over
you
this
don't want
point.
to have this combo. Because every time I bring something up, you say I'm
We've
coping
already been
wrong.
over this point. All right.
No,
Self-reporting
no.
is only reliable to a certain extent. Okay. Quantitative and qualitative data collection is used in specific times for specific reasons. Put it that way. Not all data can be collected quantitatively, and not all data can be collected qualitatively. Okay.
I mean,
Giving somebody a survey when you start talking about medicinal things or medical and biological outcomes isn't necessarily the most reliable way to collect data about it. All right. So, like I said, there can be uses for that. Specifically, we said, all right, like 3 out of 10 people enjoy skiing. All right. That's great. That's good information. All right. But it's not
do you know
giving
how
us.
many people catch a psychosis, actually, a cannabis-induced psychosis? You know
Sorry.
how many people
Sorry.
are smokers?
Can you not disrupt the point I'm making, right?
You disrupted me
Giving
earlier.
people, no, I'm replying to your point that you raised, all right? Giving people a survey and asking them, oh, have you experienced any negative side effects, isn't enough to make a decision on a political level, a legal level, or a medical level. More work has to be done. Data collection and statistics can be used in terribly bad ways or misused, put it that way, okay?
To be
So
honest,
that is
you're
not a
all
good
right.
enough reason why it shouldn't be banned.
You're thinking authoritarian. You're thinking authoritarian.
That's your
your whole thing.
opinion. That's your
No,
opinion.
that's literally what you are.
All right, so
You're
explain
being
to me
authoritarian.
how my view on this particular topic is authoritarian.
Because you're saying that only medical professionals should be the ones giving opinions on weed. You're saying
That's
that the users themselves shouldn't be able to. You're saying that if you just ask a bunch of
all right.
users,
So you're
their
straw
opinions
manning.
are invalid.
You're straw manning, but that still has
That's
nothing to
literally
do.
what you said
But that
earlier.
still
You've
has
been
nothing
saying
to
that a
do with
lot.
authoritarianism. It has nothing to do with authoritarianism. So what are
Okay,
you
because
talking
you're
about?
relying on the government to
No.
decide whether or not it's okay.
Where did I say that?
Yes.
And during this
Yes.
whole
If you're
conversation,
saying no, if you're
during this
saying that only
conversation,
medical professionals or only
during this
like
conversation, where did I
professionals
say
can
that?
give.
You guys can hear this guy coping, right? During this conversation, where did I say anything about the government?
I mean, if you want to ban something, you know who has to ban it, right? The government has to ban it,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, they'll
So
play a part in
technically,
it.
this whole thing is about the
But
government.
have we got to that part yet? Not
You're putting
once.
it in the government hands, so this is
No,
automatically an
no, we haven't.
authoritarian take,
So
no
you
matter
haven't,
what you
no?
want to
Wrong,
disagree or not.
wrong. So you're saying all governments are authoritarian?
You are giving an
Are
authoritarian
you
take.
saying all
I'm
governments
saying you
are
are giving an
authoritarian? So
authoritarian
are you
take,
saying
bro.
when the
I'm
government
literally
banned
saying you're giving an
are
authoritarian
you
take.
saying when the government banned mercury in light switches and in thermometers, that was an authoritarian
I'm
take?
saying you're giving an authoritarian take, bro. You're saying
When
that
are
no, no,
you
no. The
saying
reason why
when the
shut the
government
fuck
made
up
it
and
a
let me talk, and
mandate
you understand what I'm
when the
saying.
government made it a
Shut the
mandate for
fuck up and
cars
let
to
me
be
talk.
made with seatbelts, that was an authoritarian decision? Is that what you're saying? Okay, you see how he's swearing and getting out of character. Bro is coping hard. All right, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Can't say I'm coping when somebody says let me talk and you keep talking.
Because I'm
That's
finishing a
literally just you
point.
talking over someone.
It's called finishing a point.
Dumbass.
No, now you got to throw out insults because you can't cope with intelligence. That's your
You said I
problem,
can't cope with
not mine.
intelligence. To be fair, I'm
That's
pretty sure I'm
your
more
problem.
intelligent than you on this
Oh, that's
subject.
the most intelligent take that anyone was going to offer back. I'm intelligent. What about you? Right. Thank you for demonstrating your intelligence. But anyways,
Okay.
do you have any extra points to add,
You
or are
don't
you
even
just going
know
to
what
cope
type of
more?
drug cocaine is, bro.
Thanks,
Literally. I
thanks.
asked you to
What does that have
prescribe
to
the
do with
type of
anything?
drug cocaine was.
See?
You
Do
couldn't
you see?
describe it.
Bro
Do you
had
know
to
the difference between a
pivot.
stimulant and a
Had to
depressant? Yes or
pivot.
no?
He had to
Yes or
pivot,
no,
right?
bro?
He had to
Yes or no?
pivot,
Do you
right?
know the difference
Do
between a
you,
depressant and a
right, so
stimulant?
let's track the
Stop.
conversation. Let's
Shut the
track the
fuck up and
conversation.
answer my
Let's track
fucking
the
question.
conversation. Let's track the
Stop. Like,
conversation,
can
all
you
right?
shut the fuck up and
No,
answer my question?
no,
What's the
right? Let's
difference?
track the conversation. Remember what you said, all right? My view on smoking should be banned was an authoritarian type of argument, and I'm depending on the government to do it. I asked you what exactly I said through this whole conversation that was authoritarian. You failed to raise any significant point to that. So do you concede on that point, or are you going to cope some more? All right? Unmute yourself. I've given you
Are you gonna
38 minutes of
answer it
my
or not?
time, right?
Are you gonna answer
No,
my question though?
stick to the topic and
No,
stop
are you
trying to
gonna
red
answer my
herring to
question?
cocaine. Stick to the
No,
topic.
no,
All
are
right?
you gonna
I'm not.
answer
All
my
right. I'm gonna
question,
ask you.
bro?
I'm gonna
Like
ask you
literally.
one question. All right.
No, I'm gonna
I'm
ask
gonna
you a
ask you
question. You
one
was
question. Do you have any plans to quit smoking in the future? Yes or no? Please unmute yourself. All right. The final question of this session is: do you have any plans to quit smoking? Yes or no?
you said, do I have any plans to go smoking?
To quit smoking.
No.
All right. Good luck to you, sir. I hope you can figure it out in the
Can you
future.
answer my question now?
Thanks for coming up. What a cope. Hello.
Yeah, what's up?
How you doing, bro?
Good, good.
You got a
Just
hot
living
take?
this life, man.
You got a hot take? You want to talk about God or you want to talk about smoking?
I really want to talk about smoking. That's really when I hopped onto it because it's got more positive things that happen for me in my life. I know
All
that for
right. So
sure.
before we get into that, right? There's a couple of questions I'd like to ask before we begin. First question is: have you ever worked in the tobacco or cannabis industries or around them?
Have I ever worked in the tobacco or cannabis industries? No.
Cool. Do you mind sharing if you've ever used any of those substances?
Yes, I have used cannabis. I need to use cannabis because I have a seizure disorder.
Cool.
And
Do you
this is
mind?
just to
Do you
my
mind
point real
sharing?
quick.
Do you mind sharing what age you started using?
Let's say probably about 15, maybe somewhere
Cool.
around there.
Now the floor is yours to make the points you want to make, bro.
All right. I just see you say smoking should be banned, and I appreciate, you know what I'm saying? Everybody should have their own viewpoint on everything, you feel me? But me personally, from my experiences, I've never had any cannabis induced psychosis. Also, to my point, I do have a seizure disorder. There is multiple different medications that are something that can help with seizures, but the side effects weigh out massively more negatively than it does with smoking or using cannabis.
Okay.
Because this is a fact. Keppra, also called levetiracetam, I believe.
Can you say it again, sorry?
Um, I said Keppra, which is a medicine that's used for seizures. I don't know if anybody in the live here has taken part in seizures or not, but that is a medicine that's used, but it also has side effects of depression, anger disorder, as well as health defects and stuff like that. So it's just the simple fact that I don't think it should be banned. I understand what you're saying, where there's negative effects to it, but smoking being banned, I feel like is just like for instance, why aren't you up here talking about how alcohol should be banned?
Well, I would talk about that, but that's a different topic. But in terms of what we're talking about, are you
For
saying
sure.
that there aren't any other treatments you could take to manage your seizures?
No, if you listen to what I was just saying, just real quick, I'm gonna repeat myself.
I did hear what you were saying, but I think it's
You,
important
s-
I ask this question.
yeah, you
There
asked
are or
if
there
I
aren't?
have tried anything else, and I told you that Keppra is one of them, as well as lamotrigine. Those are the two different medications that my neurologist prescribed to me
Okay.
before I started having these problems, or when I had these problems.
So
Me personally, I
when did
have
you start having
understood,
these problems? Respectfully, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I would like to know.
say around 20 years old, somewhere around that age, 2021.
Okay, so you do also recall earlier in the conversation that you were smoking cannabis before that age, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a correlation there with you starting to use the cannabis to manage the seizures.
How do you figure?
Because you were already using cannabis.
But I wasn't using it recreationally. You asked me when I started out. I told you I started when I was 15.
Okay,
I played basketball, and I was
that's
also an
totally fine.
athletic.
I thought that was
No,
important to
I'm just trying to
rage.
get a point across
Sorry,
to you real quick. Just
to
stop cutting me off
raise.
real quick,
Right?
bro. You was cutting off everybody. I'm trying to be respectful for you. I want you to be respectful for me.
Yes, you got you.
I
Respectfully,
was
you got to
I
forget
was a
other
basketball
conversations
player. I
and
was
look at our
also a student,
conversation.
so I could not partake in cannabis or anything like that after I was between the years of 17 through 20. Why? Because I was an upstanding athlete and an upstanding person. I wanted to be able to do everything that I could to the best of my ability. So
Okay.
once I found out that I had seizures,
Okay, like I don't want to
I
attack
started
your character or anything, but I don't see how that was relevant. That was like a nonsense
because
excuse that you give
you
to your
just tried to say
parent
that
or
cannabis
somebody
is
that
irrelevant. You
cares.
just tried to
Like what
damn,
was
bro.
that?
Are you gonna let any of your people talk?
Right, so there's rules to this thing, right? One thing you have to understand, when I have a conversation with you, I'm having a conversation with you. I'm not having a conversation with a person prior to you. I'm talking to you. If
I'm
you
just
want to
saying you're not even
reference,
letting me
with
talk,
all due
really.
respect, if you want to reference, like, like previous cats type shit, if you want to big up old shit, we could, like, move on and have someone else come up. But
What
if
you
you,
talking about? Bring up old
in
shit?
terms
What
of
do you
us having
mean?
a conversation, I like to approach each conversation as a brand new conversation, right? I don't bring the troubles of the last conversation into this conversation. Now, it wasn't you who was being interrupted or who claimed to have been interrupted, all right?
I have been,
Right,
but I'll let you
exactly.
keep going.
So you raising that in this conversation is just to frustrate me. So in this kind of situation, I will give you the benefit
I'm
of the
in no way,
doubt.
shape, or form trying to frustrate you. I'm trying to
Right, so
get
let
my
me
point
finish my
across
point.
and have
Right,
a debate just like you
I will
want.
give you the benefit of the doubt that you're a different person and you've got different points and different temperament to the last person. So I won't treat you like I treated the last person. So now that being clarified, I would like you to, like, at least try, if you could, participate in making this conversation productive and quite linear. So all of the, like, personal characteristics and anecdote aside, I'm not trying to attack you. I don't know you. All I want to know is your best reason why it shouldn't be banned. Okay.
The best reason it shouldn't be banned is because of the positive effects that it has on me. If it was banned, then I personally believe that my seizures would have had um, much more of a negative effect on my life if I would have continued to partake in just the medicine that was prescribed for me by the doctors, the same doctors who are saying stuff about cannabis psychosis and that stuff you talk about.
Okay, right. So
I just feel like you're not. I just feel like you're
no,
not really being
respectfully,
really open to
you
everybody else.
made
That's
one
really,
point,
and you're cutting me off
brother. Because you
again.
make one point. With all due respect, now this is gonna be like a
You
internet
just
critique with respect,
you just
right?
cut me
You've
off,
made
brother.
you
Wait,
made
all
one
right.
point, and then you just started rambling at the end of that point. Some people are interested in that
You say
conversation style.
rambling, but I say
Listen,
trying to
right?
add
Please
details
listen,
onto
right?
my point.
Please
You're
listen,
not
right?
even listening.
When you
I
make a
can't. I
point,
can't. I
listen,
can't,
you
bro.
made the point of it helps you with seizures. That's the most poignant part of the conversation.
And that's
Everything
a point.
outside of that, listen, exactly. So if you want to have a conversation, people need to address a point as it goes. Not I say this, then I add this and add this and add this and add this, right? No, right? We don't have conversations like that in the real world or on the internet. Right? That's just
How is
you. That's
adding
you.
stuff to a
That is like
conversation
you
not being a
venting, right? Because
conversation?
it's not relevant to the point. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say to you.
You're not even listening to me
You
to
were
have me
about to
be able
pivot
to
to
bring it
another
to be
point,
relevant to the
brother.
point.
Look,
You're
with
not
all due
even
respect,
listening to
right?
me. Don't call me brother because you're not even
Right,
treating me that way. So
you all right?
let's
No,
be
no.
real.
Now I got to critique you as a person, right? Because you're not listening to the actual conversation. You are
You don't know
operating.
me as a
You are.
person, so
I
you
know what
cannot
you show
critique
me,
me as
right?
a
I
person.
can, I absolutely can, right? Because I'm
You
speaking to you right
cannot.
now, right?
You
I absolutely
cannot.
can,
You can
right?
critique.
What you're showing to me is you have no self control, right? You are literally, with all due respect to women out there and feminists out there, but you have a very impulsive type of speech patterning, right? It's like speaking to a woman who she doesn't want a solution, she just wants to tell you the problem, and that's fine. But that's not what we're doing here, right? And I don't expect you to operate in that way either. So if I ask you a point and you respond to that point, you stop at that point. You don't start telling me about my grandma's knees and I was playing ball. Like, no, I don't care, and the audience doesn't really care, okay? You make the point, I'll address the point, and then we'll move on, right? Respectfully, okay? And I apologize if that was like misogynistic. I don't mean to offend women like that. I'm saying his speech style
I'm good.
is very
I'm good,
feminine.
bro.
All right, that's all I'm
I'm
saying.
good, bro. I'm good, bro. I came up here. I said what I need to say. You don't listen to you don't make this a
I
debate,
did
bro. You
listen,
talking you
right?
talking at people.
What you
So I'm gonna
said
just
was that
let it be what it is.
it helps you with your seizures, right? And that
You
was the
have a
most
great day,
important
brother.
point. All right, thank you, bro. I hope you're more productive in your conversations in your real life, because that is no way to move, bro.
That's a great way to end the conversation,
No
bro.
way to move in life, bro. Good luck
More
to you.
power to you, brother.
Terrible, bro. Man's is soft, bro. I don't know what's wrong with these people. And I apologize if I offended any women. I don't mean it in that kind of way. I'm saying like what he's doing is just like dumping information, right? In terms of like, oh, I just need to get this off my chest. It's like, I don't care. I don't care about you personally, with all due respect, until we build a rapport, right? But no offense to women in that kind of way, right? Actually, you know what? It's a misogynistic reference point, a patriarchal type of issue that I have to deal with, right? But that is the vibes that he gave me, so I analyzed it in that way. Okay, I apologize, right? But no, I don't
Hello?
want to hear rambling until we've built a rapport. Okay.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, what's up, bro?
Yo, what's up, man?
How you doing? You
Yeah,
got a hot take? You want to talk about God, or you want to talk about smoking?
actually, I want to talk about God. So,
Cool, brilliant, man.
my,
Good on you.
yep. So, actually, what I think is that, okay, so you said humans invented God, right?
Yes, that's my opinion. Yes.
Okay, so if humans invented God, why is every rules that humans have set was against what, God has demanded, right?
That
So, if
doesn't.
you say,
Wait, can you re-say that? Because I don't think that's what you meant. That was a little bit. Can you
hold on,
re-say that?
okay, I'm talking through my phone, so, like, if I ever, like, say anything like that you didn't hear, let me know and I'll
No,
repeat
it's
that.
that I
Okay.
heard you, but you didn't make a coherent point there. So can you just re-say it? That's what I'm asking you.
Okay. So basically, if okay, so if humans have created God, right? Right?
Hmm.
Why is every law that humans have created was against what God said? For
Can you
example,
give an yeah? Go
I'm
ahead.
I'm Muslim, right? Alhamdulillah. And in the Quran, one of the things it talks about is that
Where'd that
there's no
accent come
such
from?
thing as hmm?
That accent just jump out from. Like carry on. I'm sorry. It's just commentary. Just like, I know it's a conversation, but
One of the
also
things in the
entertaining.
Quran is that we can't drink or we can't have anything that's intoxicating, right?
Okay. Is that something that
Then
says explicitly in the Quran, or is that an interpretation?
no, it's explicitly in the Quran. It says no intoxicants.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So if that's the case, then why have humans allowed alcohol? Why has humans allowed, these things, right? So if
Well, they're
you
not
know,
Muslim for one, but I know from my minimal like religious knowledge that there's alcohol in the Bible. Jesus himself made alcohol, so that's a cultural and a religious thing you're pointing to. It's not necessarily a law that humans have made that are against God,
yeah, but I'm not Christian, so I don't know why you're bringing up the Bible.
because it's relative, right, in terms of God conversations. But anyways, please finish your point.
Like so as I said, I'm Muslim, so we don't like so alcohol, anything intoxicating is completely disallowed. Anything that puts you out of a sober state of mind is not allowed.
Okay.
So, but my point is that if let's say you were to make rules, right? If you were to be like, you know what, I all these 25 people, they can't drink, they can't smoke, they can't do this, right? But then, but then all the people go like against you and they start like making it their own rules. Okay, wait, that was kind of bad. Okay, let me explain.
All right, speak up a little bit as well, please. All right.
Okay, so basically, if humans created God, right, and God said, we can't drink, we can't do this, we can't do that, right? But then humans went around and saying, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this.
Well, he wouldn't be
Why,
God
if
then, would
humans
he?
created God, why have they went against what God has said?
That brother, that point doesn't make sense. Right, think about your wording. It might be like a language difference, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But the wording grammatically just doesn't make sense. Okay. So
But what
I think what you're trying to ask me, right, is how are humans, or why do humans go against God's commandments? Is that what you're saying, or are you saying something else?
basically in that sense, yeah.
All right. So, in terms of my view that humans invented God, right? Any commandments that God would be giving in a religious text is coming directly through humans. It's like a puppet master. But obviously, humans create what are called restrictive codes and practices, from asceticism to Buddhism to Islam to Christianity, on and on, to diet regiments to military regiments. People create what are called restrictive practices or codes because they're either seen as something virtuous to do, meaning it builds good character, or they see something to gain from doing it. Okay, that's why these restrictive codes and practices are made anyway, in a religious context. Now, in a legal context, a little bit different. It's come down to morality, society, politics. Okay, but in a religious context, it's usually seen as something that's virtuous, or that there's something to gain from doing it. Okay, so from my worldview, God's never actually said anything anyway, and all books that talk about what God say is just a part and parcel of humans inventing gods and the various reasons why they do it. But what's the point that you're making?
What I'm trying to say is that basically, and because what I was also gonna lead on is that basically, if humans created God, how could humans know what a pulsar star makes or the miracles that the human life cycle of an embryo? This is only
Well,
stuff that we learned recently. So how was the Quran able to describe it in detail?
I think that comes down to your interpretation of the Quran wholly. I don't think it explicitly talks about those things. Specifically, we didn't have the vocabulary of those things prior to that. But what I would say is all information that is found in a book anywhere on earth is likely put there by humans. So if there's actual explicit knowledge of something, that means humans had explicit knowledge of that thing. You also got to remember the Quran is written around 1400 years ago, right? Prior to the Quran coming around, humans have been doing pretty well on earth, right, in terms of Egypt, Greece, the Levant, all the Mesopotamians, right? So people are significantly advanced with their knowledge of the earth or the natural world already. The Islamic world also, members of the Islamic world offer things to science and mathematics also. So to say that humans, it's impossible for them to have this knowledge, to me is redundant, because any knowledge put down anywhere came from humans. Right? There's no, with all due respect, there's no way to prove it's otherwise.
No, it's not. It's not interpretation because the Quran uses the word knock or a banging noise. A banging noise is like a knock, right? It uses the word knock, right? So if you say like and then recently scientists have say a pulsar star makes a noise like knocking, So how
Yeah,
is that
but
interpretation?
what you're doing is updating, right? So it's like, this is like kind of what religious minded people, or what you say superstitious minded people, do when it comes to things like predictions, or I forget what you call them. what do you call predictions in your world again? It's been a while since I thought about this. Prophecies, okay? So most prophecies are put down as very vague, open-ended things. It's very rare that you get a specific prophecy that happens in exactly how it was said, right? So what happens is people take this open-ended idea or proclamation, sorry, and they take this open-ended thing that's been said and they interpret it in various ways. So they update their interpretation of it as their knowledge goes on, right? So you talking about a knock, which you're interpreting, and then finding out a star makes a sound now in the 21st century is that exact phenomenon. Right? No one explicitly said in the whenever that was written 1400 years ago that this star does this exact thing. Okay, this is your interpretation of what is written down there, and that again, that speaks to human minds, not what a god has done in any time.
Would you like the exact verse so you can look at it yourself?
Not really interested, to be honest. I don't think religious texts hold value in terms of proving God's existence. Whether you're a Christian, a Mormon, a Jew, a Muslim, I don't think any religious text can prove God's existence or participation in the world.
So you're basically saying you're not willing to read upon or learn more?
No, not in terms of a religious text, right? Think about my position. I'm saying humans invented God. So the God of the Bible has, well, the God of the Quran, the Bible, and Torah, they all have an explicit historic lineage, e.g. they start in a specific place in Mesopotamia and get adapted, but prior to that the reasons why they produce that type of god are really documented through anthropology and cognitive science. What you're talking about as Allah and what Christians are talking about as God or Jehovah or Jesus, well, Jesus as an extra aside, is actually just an anthropomorphic deity. Okay, the Greeks did it too, the Romans did it too, the Egyptians did it too, and people are still doing it today. So to say that that actual God that you're talking about actually said this and said that requires a hell of a lot of proof that wouldn't be found in the text itself, right? Because that text only speaks to your culture and your beliefs. It doesn't translate outside of that.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I understand your point that you don't believe in God, but that doesn't mean you should stop from, reading about what things say, you know what I'm saying, or like learning about further on progressing your knowledge.
You're right. Don't get me wrong, you're right, but you should always study things that have an interest to you or is relevant to what you want to do. Now, I'm not saying not to dabble in information that doesn't seem immediately relevant, but this isn't relevant in terms. Right, so if I was to start trying to pull out Zoroastrian prophecies and texts to prove that the god that they believed in is real, or Christian texts, how would you respond to that?
But how is it not relevant? Because you said you're talking about God, but you're not willing to learn about what things
Yeah.
God said.
So God exists independent of religions. The thing is, what people fail to understand with their religious beliefs or their cultural leanings, right, is that gods could exist and religions could be absolutely wrong about everything, or gods could not exist and religions still exist. So religions are like a subset of a god concept or theology whole. Theology, for a god to exist, a religion doesn't have to exist. A religion is just telling you a cultural story of what they believe, right? But it doesn't tell you anything about what is actually out there. That's the point I'm making.
No, but what religion is basically God is talking to us through a religion,
That's
right?
what you
It's
believe.
it's basically no,
Yes, it's what you
he's talking
believe.
to us.
It's not what's proven. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So if I pulled out, 42 laws of my out or whatever kind of holy text, and I told you no, this God is real because this text exists, you'd be like, no, that God is not real. Okay, it's this. The same goes for your book as well. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. The book itself isn't a proof. It's claims. Right?
But the thing is, can you find a contradiction in the Quran?
That's a different point. I wouldn't waste my time trying, right? And I'm pretty sure there are some. But if it's put it this way, if humans are fallible and humans produced it, then there is some fallibility in it, right? But that's a complete different point.
No, because what I'm trying to say is that if the Quran is perfect and if it doesn't have contradictions,
That
which
doesn't.
every
That
other
also doesn't mean it comes from a god. With all due respect, okay. It could. All right,
if
for instance, you could. Well, there is a theory. Let's not go too deep into theory because that's probably a bit wild, right? But you could get an AI produce something that is grammatically perfect. There is no contradictions in it at all. It's perfect from like a literary sense. But does that mean it's produced by a god? Keep in mind, like someone's referencing the chat halfway, perfect is a concept, right? It's not a real thing. It's so. Anyways, right? You thinking that the Quran has no contradictions or it's perfect to you still doesn't prove that it comes from a God. That's, again, just restating your beliefs.
But the thing is, like, look, you gotta, okay, so there's many Quranic miracles, or even scientifically, numerically, there's many scientific miracles, and I'm telling you, if you were to actually, look into it, you would be amazed by how perfect and how amazing and how miraculous it is. The Quran itself is a miracle. You know what I'm saying?
All right, that's fine
Like,
if you believe that, but I don't agree. I don't think any, like, even the definition of miracle has been heavily stretched here to even say that. Right? A miracle should
how is
be,
it stretched?
right. So a miracle, like a standard public definition, if I can remember correctly, is something that happens that departs from the natural laws and is done with divine intervention. A book doesn't depart with natural laws, and there's no evidence of divine intervention. So to call it a miracle is just, it's a stretch. It's a belief that you have. Just like some people say, waking up in the morning is a miracle. Having a child is a miracle. Like making it home today was a miracle. It's a stretch of the actual definition of a miracle.
But technically, waking up is a miracle. It's a blessing that God has given us, allows us to breathe, allowed us to walk. Because if He wanted, look, a lot of people say God does not exist, because if God existed, why would He allow all these bad things to happen? In fact,
That's one way
God
to look at it.
existing and God existing and not allowing all these things to happen is kind of beautiful itself, because He gave us in this beautiful world. He said, I put you down, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? If you wanna go outside and slap somebody, that's on you. If you wanna go outside and tell somebody good morning,
So yeah,
that's on you.
these are your beliefs, right? Like, so there's a lot of problems in there because it's you've built up. Right, with all due respect, you sound kind of young, right? So it's not there's no chance. Right, I'll say it like this: we all got a lot to learn, right? Myself included. But you've got belief upon belief upon belief here, right? Which all relies on different pieces of theory from different ideas, philosophy and theology. The whole idea that you like God just exists and He made you and He put you here and you can just do what you want. That's all individually. They are all different types of thinking that range from different places and time. Okay, but to have that view needs a lot of support behind it. You're entitled to believe whatever the hell you want. You can believe that waking up is a miracle. You can believe that God exists and He wrote a Bible and or Quran, and you can believe all of those things. But to demonstrate them as concrete realities, it's, with all due respect, it's probably beyond you. It hasn't been done yet, and it probably won't ever be done.
But what about one of the other Quranic miracles where it says, I believe it was like the Romans or something like that, where it said they would fall on the lowest part of earth, and then one of the lowest part was the, what was it? The I forgot off the top of my head, but if you can give me a moment, I can look it up for you real quick.
No, with all due
But
respect, it wouldn't make a
but my point
difference.
is my but my point is out of the whole entire earth, right? How did it know that they would fall right there?
All right, so I've not addressed that particular prediction or prophecy, and I don't think it's necessary because I explained this earlier on how this works, right? You can say very vague things like that. Now, well, necessarily, it might not even be that vague because I haven't looked at that exact verse or what it claims, right? It could be very relevant information. Right, so I'll explain it like this in very simple terms, right? If you remove all of the woo-woo, the souls, the gods, the witches, the magic from the conversation, essentially what you're saying is a prophecy is a prediction. In order to make a really accurate prediction, all you need is a large enough data set, okay? Anyone can do it. For instance, if you were just saying people that can say things about the future and those things come true are talking on behalf of God, then Nostradamus is a prophet. Various other strangers in the world who have said things that have come to pass are too, right? What you're implying is that because this prediction that you think is a prediction occurred, that follows that God's the reason that prediction was made and that prediction came true. That is something you cannot prove, okay?
Yeah, but
The
the thing is,
chances are you're interpreting that prophecy or prediction into being, like almost all prophecies, okay?
no, but right now I could prophesize in the next 5 seconds I will be alive. I know, I understand anybody can
Yeah.
make prophecies. I understand everybody can make a claim. However, if I say in the next 3 days a meteor is gonna strike down and destroy Earth, and it doesn't happen, that means I'm not sent from God. That means I'm not divinely guided. That means I'm not,
But
a
if you
truth
were
teller.
right, it wouldn't mean you were sent from God either. you would still have to prove that, bro. That's what I'm saying to you. Like, all
No,
right, so
but I'm saying is
not
that
to get ridiculous, but like in terms of probability space, there'd be a higher probability that you were a time traveler and knew events of the future than there would be a probability that you were sent from God. Do you
no,
realize
but
that?
no, but like how much like prophecies would you need for you to say, you know what? This guy might be from God, because even the Simpsons
Uh-huh.
and all these other shows make prophecies,
Yeah,
and some of them did happen,
yeah, of course, right? But like,
and some of
economists
them.
make predictions all the time, right? Are they God's prophets? Like, no, like this. That's what I'm trying to explain to you, right? A prophecy in itself isn't good enough representation or a good enough tool to say that this has anything to do with a God at all. Okay, it's just a prediction. Whether it comes true or not, or whether you have to like do some hermeneutics and take some esoteric interpretations to make it come true, is another matter. If someone just said, yeah, like in 10 years from now in the desert there will be a boy born with brown eyes and brown hair and his name will be Muhammad, right? Like to someone that's a bit goofy, they'd be like, "Oh man, that's not gonna happen. That's incredible." But if we just look statistically, what's the most common name? What is likely to be the ethnicity of the person in that place? What is likely to be their haplotype? Oh yeah, it's quite obvious that this prediction is likely to come true. You know, like the prediction that in the future there will be men fighting in tall buildings. Like no shit, right? Those things are pieces of information that you have in a data set already. Okay, and if you study like human nature or psychology, you study how cultures rise and fall, you can predict these kinds of things. But whether they have anything to do with a god or not, it remains to be demonstrated. Okay.
Okay, but can I ask you any of the laws that God has given us, right? In terms of the Islamic view, what's wrong with them? Because even if you
Well,
say that humans invented God, what's wrong with the rules?
I never said there was anything wrong with them, right? It really depends. Look, put it this way, my point of view is nothing is nothing is above critique, okay? So there are things, right, put it this way, laws and rules are things that humans create, right? In terms of laws, they're built on what's called ought, right? What one ought do, what one ought not do. So these are what's called prescriptive laws. They tell you how you should conduct yourself in a time or how you shouldn't conduct yourself. Descriptive laws are what we talk about when we talk about the universe and gravity and all these kinds of things. These are things that seem consistent that happen when we observe them. So all laws, all rules across human time are up for debate on whether they count at this specific time or they require nuance. Right. So whether it's a law or a rule found in a Bible or found in a legislative document, it applies the same, right? To say it's good or to say it's bad all depends on the context, because we have good laws and we have bad laws. Okay, I haven't really looked into biblical critique in a while, but there are some things that the Bible specifically says you should do that in modern times you shouldn't do. Okay, it depends on context.
No, but like that's the Bible. Like the Bible speaks about how one time the pork is bad, but then pork is good. But what
Yeah,
about the Quran?
yeah. Like I said, right. I've not looked into Quranic critique, but I know people who do. But what I would say is, yeah, any critique that's passed on to the Abrahamic God passes on to Jews, Christians, and Muslims because they're fundamentally tied to the same God, which is the Abrahamic God. So a critique on the Bible is a critique on the Quran, is a critique on the Torah or the Tanakh, right? What you're displaying to me is valid. You're saying, oh, that's just something from the Bible, so I can dismiss it. But what you're not recognizing is that that goes across the board because of the context. If there's a rule in the Bible, you know, like one of the 500 Mosaic laws, is likely a mirroring of that rule in the Quran, right, or the Hadiths, etc. The critique passes over to you too. It's not like, oh, they're them guys and we're us. That's just tribalism. Okay. The critique stands for Islam as well. There are going to be good rules and bad rules.
Okay, wait. One more thing. Do you accept if people text you? Because I articulate better through text than actual voice. I
I'll be
love it's, okay.
I'll be
Yeah,
honest with
cause
you. I probably won't read it if it's about this type of sort of subject. I get a lot of messages about this shit. Like people even write like long ass comments on videos that have nothing to do with this shit. So I think the best way to talk to me about this is exactly what you're doing right now.
I mean that's fine if you won't read it, but if you ever like if you ever just chilling, and then you're gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna read some TikTok DMs, and if you see my message or something, or if you see it,
Shit,
you
if you
know,
want to do that, it's on you. I ain't gonna stop you from doing that, but I just give you forewarning. Chances are I won't reply.
that's fine. But all right, man. You have a good day.
All right, take care, bro. Thanks for coming up. Very interesting
Yes,
topic.
sir.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Is that Shunsui?
What's
Nah,
good,
it's
man?
someone else. What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty.
Hey, you muted yourself, bro.
Oh, that's my bad. That's my bad.
So, what do you want to talk about? You got a hot take or unpopular opinion? You want to talk about God? You
I
want to
was
talk
gonna
about
talk about the
smoking?
take of smoking.
All right, cool. So, a couple questions I got to ask you quickly. Quickly, what's the name you want to be called?
Lyric.
Nice to meet you, Lyric. First question
Nice to
is,
meet you.
have you ever worked in or around the tobacco or cannabis industries?
Worked in or around? No, I haven't worked in or around it.
Have you ever used any of those substances?
Yes,
Do you mind sharing what age you started using them?
I use those substances because of my mental health disorders,
No, I said what age you
mainly
started using them.
anxiety. Around 16.
I appreciate you for sharing that. Sorry, I was smiling at the comments because the comments kind of wild. Right, but yeah, thanks for sharing. The floor is yours now. You can raise the point you want to make.
I personally think, not personally at all, actually. There's scientific data to prove this, but cannabis actively helps with chemotherapy and a lot of therapeutic things. It's not inherently a negative.
All right,
There are
so
negatives. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's no
quickly,
negative. There's
usually,
negatives on the body.
brother, listen, quickly, usually I wouldn't even allow for people to bring
Yeah.
up cancer research and study with this topic because of the dangers of misinformation. But if you're going to say there's scientific evidence that helps with chemotherapy specifically, can you cite it so we can just check it?
Clinical groups can give you certain sources if you want me to. You're gonna have to give me a second. I have them pulled up.
Just give me a rough thing to check. Right? What's the source that says it helps with chemotherapy or chemo in general?
I got you.
Like, why are you doing that? I'll say why, right? So there's, I forget what it's called, right? But basically, when people are dealing with cancers, the various stages, whether they catch it early or they catch it late, the last thing you want to do is start offering up things that seem to be panaceas. Panaceas are like miracle cures. They do all things, right? The reason why you want to be very careful with putting this type of information out is because people who are actually suffering with these life-ending, potentially, illnesses, is because people are before you finish, right, I have to say this. People are they're very vulnerable in that state, right? So they're looking for cures, they're looking for answers, and if they can avoid going the traditional medication or scientific route, they will, which they'll opt for holistic therapies and other substances, which could eventually or potentially end their life short, right? There are uncounted people who've opted for prayers, for like miracle drugs, for like tribal remedies over like chemotherapy, over actual treatment. Okay, why we don't like to put this information out is because if the wrong person hears it at the wrong time, they go out and they potentially lose their life betting their life on something like this miracle drug you're describing, cannabis or whatever, right? So I don't like to put that out there because that's somebody's mum, that's someone's dad, that's someone's life that you're playing with when you start talking about drugs and managing cancer, right? That's why I don't like that information. So if you can cite it,
All right.
then go ahead.
The reason why I do say that too is because my dad is
Please, no anecdotes,
in chemotherapy.
no
He has
anecdotes,
cancer.
brother, no anecdotes, just the source that says that.
What do you mean
So
an anecdote? It's a
don't
life
tell
lived.
no, exactly. This is what I'm saying
They
to you. You got to be careful
diagnosed
saying
him
shit
for
like this
cannabis due
because
to nausea and
causality,
vomiting.
brother, listen, right? If you're going to say this thing helps with cancer or a type of cancer treatment, chemotherapy, you need to
I'm
cite
trying to
the
give you the
source.
cause of
Right.
why
No,
they
listen, brother, listen. Look, I
gave
don't want to drop you, but I just finished explaining this, right? I don't want to hear no anecdotes. At the very point where you say this has anything to do with cancer or life-threatening illness, you need to cite the source, and it needs to be peer-reviewed. It needs to come from an official source. No anecdotes. No, my uncle was, fucking Dr. Sabier. No, none of that shit. Right? It has to be verified because you're playing with
I
people's
was
lives.
literally there.
All right? Don't care. That if that's your point, then just move on because I don't want to hear your anecdotes.
Now,
All right? I literally just said that. It needs to be an official source, bro. You're playing with people's lives. It's
all
some
right, but
RFK Jr. type shit, bro. I don't want to hear that. No, you're witnessing it isn't proof, right? Like I forget what it's called. Correlation isn't causation. Okay, there's people who get shit wrong all the time. Unless it's been studied, documented that this exactly done this effect, had this effect. I don't want to hear it. Okay, it's dangerous to say shit like that. Very dangerous. People don't understand the reality of that kind of stuff. All right, so let's sneak past this guy, anyways. There was a way to kill these people, but I can't remember how to do it. Yep, you can see me. Oh, bro dropped. Big surprise there, right? Anyways, right, look, for future reference, if you're gonna say something outlandish, like, smoking helps with cancer, or it helps with this, like, I forget what the right word is. I'm gonna have to find the medical word so I can stop throwing that word around. I think it's oncology. Yes. If you're gonna say something that has anything to do with oncology, right? Basically the study of cancer and treatment of cancer, you need to come with actual verified sources, okay? You're playing with people's lives. As I just said, it could be a child that has cancer, it could be an adult that has cancer. They hear you say something like that, like I took ayahuasca, like I drank bleach, I did, like I fucking had baking soda and it cleared my cancer up. They hear you say shit like that and they opt for that instead of actually going and get the therapy they need, they die, okay? That's real and it happens all the time, okay? So just be careful with the shit that you say on the internet. It's somebody's life at the end of the day. Might not be yours, but it's somebody's, okay? Just don't say shit like that unless you can support it. Just this terrible misinformation leads to all kinds of crazy things. Hello? Great. Hey, I heard that. My transfer juicy. What are you playing back there?
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
you
can
can
hear
hear
you,
me? Okay, so I want to talk about the smoking point.
bro. Alright,
I do
cool.
agree with you. There are negatives.
So
There are negatives. There are cons.
we'll run through the points. So you've been here long enough, I've seen you in the chat. So you ever worked
Yeah, I've
in
been
the
here.
cannabis or tobacco industries?
Yes, sir. I have.
Do you mind going into further detail?
I've worked at a gas station where I've sold vapes, cigarettes, alcohol, etc.
Well, I wouldn't really count. That's more like a customer service position, so it's not really direct influence. But I understand that. Right? Have you ever used either of those substances? Pharaoh,
Yes, sir.
I see what you said, bro. Stop spamming.
I have used.
Do you mind saying what age you started using them?
20 years old.
Cool. Floor is yours, bro.
Okay. So I just want to make a point. I do understand your point in saying, yes, smoking and the way most people use it is a negative and a con. Like the way most people use it is just to, smoke and chill with their friends, play games and stuff like that, which is not what it's intended for. It's intended to help with medical purposes.
You
So
saying
I get your
smoking
point
is?
on that. Well, not necessarily smoking, but cannabis itself is meant for medical purposes.
Well, it's probably the better use for it. Yeah. It's not.
But
It's
my
just
point
a
is
plant, though.
I've seen videos, and you can look it up. I can't cite the exact video because it was
It's not going to be a
a
Parkinson's
couple.
one, is it?
It is the Parkinson's one,
Yeah. Again, that's just internet bullshit, bro. That's what I say about these
but
anecdotes.
that's multiple people though. It's not just one person, and
Yeah.
that's not the only point I'm
That's
going off.
okay.
I've
That's
I've
okay.
seen I've seen people with Alzheimer's.
I know.
They take not, and that's not. I get what you're saying. I don't
You
agree.
got
I
to
don't
get the
agree
data.
people should be smoking,
All
but
I'm saying is,
cannabis
if you
itself
raise those
should not be
points,
banned.
if you raise those points, you got to check your sources and what the data says, not what some video on the internet told you, not what some talking head told you.
Oh, of course. Of
What
course
the
I didn't just
professionals say.
go off the video. I looked into it. That's why I want to. That's what I'm talking about. I
All
looked
right,
into it
cool,
after I seen the video.
cool, cool.
So I'm not just going off a TikTok video, you know, like I'm not like these people. Like I do my research on things because I don't want to sound ignorant when I'm speaking. So yeah, I did my research on it. Like I've seen like there's a very large percentage of population of cancer patients and people with anxiety and such medical issues that get
Managing pains.
not smoke, but get form of cannabis where they either drink it or however they get it, but not smoking, like not buying it from a fucking dispensary or whatever. They get it from the doctor. And there's
Yeah,
a good percentage of studies that say cannabis
but
is useful and helpful to those people. Like yes, you to your
yes,
point, it's
it
not going to
can.
work on
Yes,
everyone.
yes, it can be
You
used.
can't just say
Don't
it.
get me wrong, but you still, again, right? You say it in a general term as if like this is some well known knowledge. It has to be it has to be cited. The source has to be cited for that exact anecdote. Because we could all just say, yeah, man, like put some chili powder and lemon in water, just, like fixes so many people, so many problems. You know, there's people who think like black seed oil fixes everything. We can say that shit, but we got to source that, or it can just
Yeah,
be like a cultural
that's I
truism.
understand that, and like to your point earlier, it's not everything's not going to work on everybody because everybody has different things in their body that reacts different ways to certain things. So just because cannabis worked on one cancer patient doesn't mean it's going to work on the next. You're completely right in that sense. I do agree with you with that, and that's why I do agree that people shouldn't just say, "Oh, you do this and it will work." Like that's not the case. Everybody's different, and everything's going to work differently on everybody. But to my point, I do not think it should be banned because there is good purposes and good pros that come from it. Now,
Not
in the
smoking
way
it
that
though.
people, yes, not smoking it,
Ah,
just getting it
so you're not
medically.
arguing. You're not really arguing the point.
I'm not, but I do not think it should be banned. I don't think it should be smoked.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I don't think it should be banned as a plant. There's uses for it, even down to hemp making like textiles. There's uses for it, CBD oils, THC, whatever, right? But we're explicitly talking about smoking, and that's where people get their blurred lines because of misinformation and vested interest. People want to sell it, people want to smoke it, so they lie about what it does.
But there also is some times where people are prescribed
Mm-hmm.
actual cannabis flower. So
Yeah,
there is just it's a gray area on whether you can
yeah.
ban the whole substance from actually being smoked or not, you
But
know?
like I
Because
said,
there
right,
are people
that's
that get
a
prescribed it.
yeah, mostly in an experimental place, right? In an experimental way, because there's not enough data yet. It's only just recently been decriminalized in some places in the last like about 2 decades maybe, if that, right? So the studies are being done on it, but the people who are getting it prescribed, in my view, it's like not necessarily a violation, but it's a misuse of the kind of regulatory loophole, you know. You know how people can be like,
I
oh,
get
you know,
that.
like
And yeah, there are
I
some
can get
people that only
steroids,
get
but
medical
you know,
cards just to get
right.
just to be able to get it.
But
And I do
you
agree with
also
you
got to
that I've
remember
met people like
there
that.
are doctors you can go to with money or side offerings to get things
Yeah,
done.
of
Like, oh,
course.
you know,
Well, money buys everything, you know.
exactly, this doctor will amputate for you. You know, this doctor will do this for you. Like, these are people too, and they have vested interest also. I've debated two doctors or two acclaimed doctors about this already. You'll find not even doctors are fully informed. They say shit like as if they have a place of authority, but when you ask them a bit further, it's like, well, actually, no, this isn't true. Okay,
But I just wanted to
so
get to the point. So you agree with me that there are pros and it shouldn't be banned outright.
as a plant, if you're talking about the cannabis plant, right, in its natural form, yes. If you're talking about a
Okay.
chemically enhanced smokable skunk plant, no. The
Okay.
chemically enhanced or altered skunk plant should also be banned because it's chemically enhanced to smoke. You know, that's why it was done.
Understandable.
Right? The natural, actual, like, there's no reason a human should have to ban any plant, whether it's Japanese knotweed or some other thing. Okay, the thing itself belongs to the earth, just like we belong to the earth. What we do with it is what is our concern.
Understandable. So I just wanted to get to the point where there are pros to it and people should not be smoking it to just enjoy. People should be smoking it if they have it prescribed to them
People shouldn't
for
be smoking
medical
it at
reasons.
all, right? Like I said, right. So one of the key points, like if you actually speak to a doctor or someone who claims to be a doctor or a nurse, and they start talking about smoking cannabis, ask them, right? What about the damage to the respiratory system? What about the scarring of the lungs, the tiring of the lungs? What about the spike in blood pressure and heart rate by smoking it that way? And see if those outcomes outweigh the temporary benefits from the dopamine spike and relaxation. If they're honest, as medical practitioners, they would tell you it does not, right? So smoking it for medicinal reasons is off the
But there's
table.
certain ways you can
Okay.
smoke it without it damaging you, you know? Like
Well,
if you
maybe in
say per
some
se
vape.
a bong,
Not necessarily.
like a
Not
bong.
necessarily. You're still burning it, man. What are you talking about? What are you
I
talking
mean, I
about?
guess, but I
You're,
mean,
you
but in that
like,
case, you know, you cook food, so it's like
yes,
you cook food with fire,
foods.
right?
Right.
So it's
Yeah,
like
but
it's the same thing.
are there not foods that are carcinogenic that kill you? Yes,
Yeah,
there.
there are.
Yes, exactly. Right. So there are ways to do things safely and the right way. Right. Burning and inhaling a plant is never the right way. That might be like a temporary way until you figure out a better way to do it. Right. But it's not the best way to do it. We already just established that, right? You can take THC out of the plant, CBD out of the plant, maybe put in a vape, maybe put in some cream or something or an oil. There are many
Okay,
ways
and
to use the
okay, to
plant.
that point, so what about a vape? So that's how I smoke it. I
Well,
vape.
yeah,
I use a cartridge.
I'm in.
I don't burn anything. I use a cartridge, so it just comes straight from a liquid.
Yeah, right. So put it this way, right? The data is not fully there about the long term effects of vaping on its own, aside from CBD or THC. Yeah, right. There's like fear mongering about things like popcorn lung, whether it's true or not. I've not looked into it, but I personally,
I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, I've smoked, and
you know,
my breath hasn't like that. Like I don't feel any difference than when I didn't smoke. But
listen.
I also
This is
vape
this
too,
is this is
so it's a
anecdotal, right?
different.
This is anecdotal because there are some people who are
But yeah, it's different for
prone to things
everybody.
like
Because somebody could feel it because you know
yeah.
it affects everybody differently.
There are some
I
people
get
who
that.
are already prone to like lung infections and chest infections and things like that, asthma, allergies. Those things play a part as well. Even how your blood is in your body. Last time you got a blood test and you look at the various different parts of the blood test, all of those things affect you specifically. But in terms of the vaping, aside from the smoking, vape is also an inhalation. Okay, naturally your body isn't built to do that. Okay, depending if it's like corn oil or whatever the shit is that allows it to be vaped, I've not looked into yet. Me personally, I've tried vaping, I've tried smoking. They're both shit, right? They both fuck you up, in my opinion. But that would be anecdotal from the vaping side. Why I would be against the
Un-
vaping idea is because again, it's primarily targeted at kids again, and the long term health effects. So
I understand. Yeah, and and that's another point I wanted to bring, because you really like to ban something is like you really can't ban something like that because like you know you're from the UK, correct? You live in so you know in UK guns are banned, for example. People still get guns, correct?
yes, but guns aren't
So it's
entirely
like
banned. Right? There are legal ways to have firearms, just like there would be legal ways to have alcohol or legal ways to have cannabis or whatever. There are legal ways, right? So
okay.
it's nuanced. It's nuanced, and when you say you can't ban things, that's not true. Okay, there's a for this particular thing, tobacco primarily, there's a clear established route to banning it. Right, it also has a lot to do with what we're doing here with like social engineering and addressing things like the Overton window, pushing throwing out an extreme idea and then making it so extreme that people settle for the moderate version. This is the stuff that we already studied, we already know. Okay, so how it would be banned here, one of the strategies is the Ash Act that might come into play in January 2027, which means anyone, it's like a generational ban, anyone born after 2009 will not be able to legally purchase tobacco products again. Right? That's a piece of legislation, if pulled off, will legally bar people from the market. Right? The next strategy, bro, I can hear music in the background, it's kind of distracting, yeah?
Oh, sorry, it's my show. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, if you don't mind, like turn that down or something. Right? So the next thing is to address the regulation of the production to reduce the quantity or the quality of nicotine, and in cannabis's instance THC, by 95%. That makes it less addictive, easier for the people to get who got on it to get off of it. The next thing is actually offering subsidized smoking cessation services, again offering an off ramp to people who are on it. And the other thing is the decriminalization of the substance, but keeping it illegal. So you make it so it's illegal to have, but you don't get a criminal record. Instead, you get a fine or mandatory education. So there are ways to reduce this thing's impact and effects on society. Just like there are ways to reduce the impact, there will still be ways to get it. Okay, there will always be
Yeah,
people who
that's
break
my
laws.
next point because like I feel like the reason you can't fully ban something like that is because then it's gonna create a huge black market for it,
That's
which is in
wrong.
turn going to be
No,
it's
no,
going to be worse than it already
no,
was.
that's wrong, right? This is like this counterfactual view that everyone has. It's like they have this kind of it's like
But if you ban it, it's not going to be
mechanism,
produced
right?
anymore.
So
So the only way to get it is going to be getting it from third party people
right,
that
people
are
are already
potentially doing it the wrong way.
right. This is the thing. This is what people don't understand, right? People are already a black market is called a parallel market. So banning something doesn't produce the market. The market already exists alongside the overground, right? I think when we checked it up again in the last stream, it was in 2018. They published that 25% of all alcohol consumed was produced on the black market. People who bought it had no idea. 11.25% of all tobacco products were produced on the black market. People who bought it had no idea. These markets already exist parallel. Now, what
I
you
understand that, but you
no,
said
listen,
25%, right? If it was banned,
no,
that number would
listen.
jump significantly.
Right, so that's a counterfactual. We think that, right, based on the kind of presuppositions or the views that we have already, but we don't know for a fact, right? Yes, there will still be a market for it. Yes, there will still be people who supply it and access it. But to say that will jump exponentially is not a known fact, right? That's something you can discover, and it's also something you can mitigate against. And a bonus to that, actually, it makes it a lot easier to police the black market and illegal drug trades, okay?
But my
Because
point to that
there
is
is
before
there's
weed
no
was legal, the
overground
black market for it was way
shielding,
higher than
right?
it was now.
That's an
You know what I
opinion.
mean?
That's an
It's
opinion.
not. It's a fact. It's a
Right.
statistical number.
To be able to demonstrate that, how would you do it?
I mean, it's look at studied by I don't know people that I don't know how to explain it, but there's studies on it.
Exactly. Right.
There's
We
literally
can
a percentage
listen.
on it of how
We
the
can say
percentage
shit.
of people buying black market marijuana
All right. So
instead of going to the dispensary. Like people, they track
no,
your credit
no,
card
no.
bills, so they know how many people are going to the
I mean, just
dispensary.
look. You're blabbing with all due respect, right? I know what you're trying to say, but what you're saying isn't cutting home, right? Yes, marijuana is an illicit substance and it's purchased primarily on the street. But when you're talking about a black market per se, there's levels to this shit, right? There are parts of the black market that our governments are directly involved in, right? Not necessarily like people who are main figures in the government, but like members of the government, right? There's levels to it, right? So you're talking about pirated food, pirated clothes, media, etc., human trafficking, illicit substances, alcohol, etc. On and on and on. There's levels to the black market, okay? If we're talking street level purchase of cannabis, that does have something to do with the black market. It absolutely does. But to be able to track that, right, is very difficult. And to say what would happen in a counterfactual way, like like if the earth was like 1% different, so you could say
I
that shit,
understand what you're
right?
saying,
But
but
you
you got
haven't
to
got the
think about
data
all
to
the people that
demonstrate that,
smoke now.
right?
If you were to ban it,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, some of them are going to stop, but 80% of those people are going to look for another way to get it, which
Eighty
is going
percent,
to
eighty
increase the
percent. All
black
right. So
market.
just saying that again. All right. I know we're just speaking in general, but 80% is just some arbitrary number you pulled out of your ass, right?
It's obviously not going to be like, but
Exactly,
there's
right.
going to
So
be a high percentage of people who
right,
smoke that are going to continue to
but the
find a way
reality
to
is,
smoke after it is banned.
don't get me
That's
wrong,
just the
right?
fact.
The reality is this, right? You cannot legislate something out of existence entirely without being tyrannical. So that's not what I'm advocating for here, right? I'm advocating for addressing it in its commercialized form primarily. We cannot exploit people producing this and consuming this. We're about attacking it commercially primarily. But the good side effects of attacking it commercially is it brings the dark shit out into the open. You can't hide under the good shit, or let's not good, but you can't hide under the commercialized routes. Just like a lot of restaurants, a lot of like family owned shops and shit, and even some chains are actual places for money laundering. So like that criminal money that funds terrorism, funds human trafficking. The legitimate shop fronts are that also, right? It's what people don't understand. That's why it's called that's why it's called a parallel market, because it exists side by side. Now, when something is not accessible legally, meaning like say like Nike trainers were banned tomorrow, right? And everyone be like, all right, these are the Nike trainers we've got, and we're just gonna get rid of the last stock that we've got. And then you see someone come out that has a new pair of Nike trainers that nobody's seen yet. They got that pair of Nike trainers from a source, and then investigations can go ahead easier. Because like it's like how we deal with street crime now, right? You get the dealer that's selling a 10 bag, and you follow him to the guy who's got you follow him to the guy who's got the big bit, on, and you lock it down, and you realize, oh yeah, this is a multinational corruption that's happening. It's the same thing, right? Only difference is you won't have that corruption in your streets, in your schools, etc. Right? It'd be easier to police. Right? That's just an opinion, right?
But do you agree that if what you say, like it says like people past the year of 2009 or whatever year you said can't purchase it like as it goes on. So like
legally.
as the years go on, you can't purchase it as like after a certain amount of years because people born after that time will just like it just won't. You know what I mean?
Right,
Because
yeah,
there will be a point in time where only people from 2010 and on will be allowed.
yeah, legally, right? What that does is it protects the people who are currently using and addicted, but it also
But
helps to ease it out of society. So yes,
but
people who are
in that
born,
point, but
people who are
would you
born
agree
after
is if that happens,
2009,
would it increase the black market?
not necessarily. Like I said, it's no way to know. That's what I'm saying to you. The black market already exists, so it's not something you can know. You'd have to. I'm not saying like jump in the water, find out if it's cold, kind of thing.
But
But
I'm just saying like you
arguing
can't
from
really say the people like
right,
people who smoke weed like now like most of the people that smoke weed are either addicted to it or no it's 95% because they're addicted to it. If you
well,
take
yeah.
that away and say you can't buy it at the store, which
No, look.
a good
So
amount of people do,
think about it
they're
like this,
going
right?
to find a
In my
different way to
country,
purchase it, which
so
is going to be the black
bro,
market.
you're missing the point, right? In my country, it's already illegal to smoke weed. In most countries, it's already illegal, right? But how you manage that is what we're talking about. The systems that uphold justice, etc., and commerce is how you manage it. You don't move it from a street product to a store product because you don't help the civilians or the citizens that way. You create drug addicts. You create legal zombies. Create more exploitation. So you don't move it off the street onto the shelves. That's not what you do, right? You just don't police the people on the street in the same type of veracity as before. Instead, you find alternatives to criminal punishment, like fines, like mandatory education, like community payback, etc. Right? You
Yeah,
address
but
the
I
punishment side
understand
of it.
that,
You don't
but
you
people go to
don't
jail
legalize
for
the
it now. So
poison.
like if it gets turned into oh I'm only gonna get a
Remember
fine, do you really
right?
think they're gonna stop doing it?
No,
No.
some will. Some people will do, right? Because the financial incentive for some people is their top priority. It's why they do the things they do. Some people, other people, not so much. But you got to remember who is disproportionately affected by drugs in the first place. It's the lower income people, okay? And people who are born in a lower class over here and in a lower income class over there, right? They are 3 to 4 times more likely to end up addicted to substances like tobacco, like drugs, like alcohol, right? And this creates like an echo chamber or like an Ouroboros, like a knock-on effect. So they're economic stresses lead them to the drugs lead them to more economic stresses. By removing these things off the legal avenue, you make it easier for that disposable income to be used in other ways because it's not being done legally. Okay, yes, they can still go and procure drugs illicitly, but you have to remember people are already procuring drugs illicitly. So that place arguing from the fear of we're going to create a black market is nonsensical because it already exists.
No, I'm not saying it's going to create a black market. I'm saying it's going to increase the black market and more
That's
people
a
are going to
view.
get sick because they're going to buy product that most likely
No,
isn't pure.
that's misinformation and that's a view, right? You can't know that. Again, the
I
argument,
can't know
right?
that, but that's
So the
happened a lot.
no,
People
no,
like
no, no,
even
no, no,
people
brother.
now,
Listen,
people get
the
laced
argument.
smoking weed all the time.
No, they don't as often as you claim. So just about to say that is propaganda in the opposite direction. It's like
I've been
overcorrection.
laced 4 times.
Let me explain,
Like
right?
I've known many people that
Perhaps
have gotten laced
don't
from
no,
weed.
listen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
It's
saying
not
not
they lace
saying it
every
doesn't
drug. It's not
happen.
just weed,
Listen, yes,
and it's
commercially too,
often.
brother. Listen, you have to understand, right? When you go to a supermarket, we get these scandals all the time with contamination of food, right? With contamination of pharma. It happens commercially too, but there's greater profit incentive to do it commercially than on the street, right? If your dealer is mixing, it's not cost effective, put it this way, right, in very street terms. It's not cost effective to buy cocaine or methamphetamine to mix it with weed, to sell weed. That's not cost effective on a street level. That's done in a vicious way, right? To hurt people. It's different. So the over
And there's a lot of those
listen,
people
right?
out in the world.
Yes, there's not as many as people would have you think, right? This is what I'm trying to explain to you. This is the overcorrection. So historically, weed has been criminalized
I
and
mean, I
stigmatized.
mean, to
Brother,
your point,
listen,
there's not a
right?
lot. There
Let me
has to
finish
be
the
a lot of
point.
people if they have to make ads for
Let me
Halloween for people not to check for people to
exactly
check candy
listen,
because people
listen,
put stuff in the candy
brother.
for kids.
That's look,
There's a
look
lot of people that do
listen,
that shit,
let me
bro.
finish, right? Glad you
There's a lot of
raised
people that do that shit.
exactly, but look what you just raised. One of the most commodified holidays, man-made holidays, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's.
And weed is one
We
of the
made
most
we
popular
made them
drugs in the
to sell
world.
shit. We made them to sell shit. So I'm explaining to you the demonization of
One of the most
weed,
popular drugs in the
brother.
world.
Let me finish my point. I don't want to drop you, right? But listen, because it's important what I'm saying. the demonization and stigmatization of weed created this overcorrection of propaganda. So you've got people who from the free love movement in the 70s and 60s were fighting back against this negative connotation around weed, to the extent now the scale is going too far to this side. So you've got the commercialized part of weed, people with dispensaries who want to convince you that all illegal weed sales are laced and you're in danger by buying it from the boogeyman.
No, I'm not
So buy it
saying
from
that.
me instead,
All
right?
illegal weed sales aren't laced.
Right, but that's the
What I'm
propaganda.
saying is, if
That's the
everybody's buying
propaganda.
off the black market, it's going to be increased because people are going to have to
No,
buy from people they don't trust.
listen, that's counterfactual. You don't know if you can trust the dispensary either. I just finished explaining that. Contaminations and profit incentives in the commercialized space are worse. Right? They got profit margins to meet. The drug dealer's worried about you. He's worried about the police officer. He's worried about the guy that's going to jump him. He's worried about the boss that ticked him. There's way more going on the street level than this simplified, oh, the drug dealer's just going to drug you, right? You're buying drugs. You know the risks because you're buying drugs, right? Your view is, it's understandable, but to argue from that place of fear is silly. It's asinine, right? It only leads to worse outcomes. Yes, I know street
But it's
level crime is
inevitably
bad.
going to
Right?
happen.
It's not.
It's going
Listen,
to.
it's
Like
not.
I'm
It's
saying
going to
myself
happen.
right now.
It's not. It's
If
going
I
to
if
happen.
the,
It is
it is though.
happening. No, it is
But
happening.
I'm
So the
saying if
fear
weed
is
gets banned, it's
unnecessary.
going to be purchased on black market,
The
and that's
weed,
going to increase
fam.
people getting
You didn't
laced. That's just a
listen.
fact.
It's not a fact. You didn't listen to anything I said because you just brought
How
it
is
up
it
to
not a
right.
fact if people get
I
laced
just
now?
explained to you exactly right, but you're making it
So
appear
how would it not increase if they ban the way to
right.
purchase it legally?
What you're making it appear as is if buying it legally completely makes it safe. It doesn't, right? I just
It doesn't,
explained
but
that.
there
Right?
are trusted places.
Second
Buying it
point.
legally makes it
Second point, right?
100 times safer.
No, it
That's my
doesn't,
point.
right? That's
Buying it,
again
yes, it does.
another arbitrary number you pulled out of your ass, right? You don't have
Buying it
statistics on this,
legally
right?
is
Brother, you
100%
don't have the
more
statistics on
healthy.
this. Let me
It
finish the
doesn't matter
point.
if I have statistics on
Let
it.
me finish
Buying
the
it from
point,
a
right?
store is 100% better than buying it
No,
off
it's
of the
not
street.
necessarily,
Yes,
right?
it is.
Right, I just explained earlier on how restaurants,
That's like saying getting
pharmacies,
a Percocet. That's like
they
saying
are also drug
getting
fronts.
medicine like a Percocet or something like that from the hospital is not better than getting it off the street.
All right,
That
so
is completely wrong.
this is the last time I'm going to give you
That's
to stop being
That's wrong.
disruptive, right? It's getting
That's
disruptive.
wrong, bro.
Let me finish the point, all right?
Like,
You are giving misinformation. You're making it seem as if banning something creates the black market and the black market puts you at risk.
I'm
No,
not. I'm saying
this
it's
isn't
going to
true.
increase.
It's been
I'm not
debunked
saying it's
already.
going to create.
You
It's already
cannot say
been
that.
there.
How
But
many times?
it's
All right, this is disruptive now, right? How many times do we have to explain this? You saying that it's going to increase is a counterfactual, which you do not have data to support. You're just repeating the same bad propaganda that I just spent 10 minutes explaining to you. Okay? That is not a fact. That's your opinion, and it's not even an informed opinion. Okay? Please listen. It's getting annoying and disruptive, right? You're assuming that purchasing it in a shop with a shop face in front and a card makes it safer. It doesn't, right? These same shops are people moving from the black market to the clean world to clean up that dirty money, which also funds terrorism and human trafficking. It's just got a shop front now. That's not what you want. You're actually safer. I know it sounds crazy. You're actually safer buying your weed from your local drug dealer than from a company. Okay, this is what you're not understanding. It's a lot of neoliberal bullshit happening with culture that you just don't get, bro. It's just this. You don't get it, man.
Let me say this, and please do not interrupt me.
Go for it.
You say I don't have proof, and I can't get proof of what I'm saying. I 100% can. I can make a Facebook group post. I can make a TikTok post. I can make any kind of social media post saying, hey, who is going to buy weed after it turns illegal? And I guarantee millions of people would comment, me. So that's how I know for a fact that it would happen.
All right, so I'll put it to you like this, right? If that is your level of thinking, then you're not equipped to have this conversation. And that's all there is to it. Think about what you've just said.
People are going to say, yes, I'm going to buy it off the black market if it is banned.
What does that account for? All right.
That accounts for that the black market is going to increase.
No, it doesn't. Right?
Yes,
that is a complete counterfactual fantasy you just made up.
But it's okay, bro.
You just made that fantasy up, and you expected us all
fantasy.
to nod along with you like it was gonna be a
I'm
fact.
gonna make
right?
a Facebook group post right now.
Go for it.
When I get 100,000 people saying yes, I'm gonna
That's
buy it off the
fine.
street, I'm
That's
gonna send
fine.
it to you. And I don't want to hear you talk about this
But
conversation
listen,
anymore.
Matthew,
That's a fact. I don't care.
but that data doesn't account for anything. Look, he ran in it. What a goofy. As I said, right? If that's your level of thinking, this you're not prepared for this type of conversation. It's completely fantasy. Yes, people can say that, but the reality of what they do is different. Will drugs still be available if you make them illegal? Yes, because they're already illegal in most places and still available. Okay, so this you're arguing at a moot point. It's like what are we even talking about here? Anyways, hello,
Yo,
you right?
what up, dude?
Oh, okay, you okay? Oh, you sounded like you was in pain there, bro. I was just a little bit concerned. Hello, hello.
What is up, bro, boy?
Are you
What
on a
is it,
delay?
Skyrim?
No. Are you delayed? Can you hear me when I speak?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out why you against it. You got an OD experience or something?
No, but do you want to
Had
talk
a
about
seizure?
smoking, or do you want to talk about something else?
Or you never indulged in your life?
Do you want to answer that question?
You never indulged in your
Do
life?
you want to answer the question?
I didn't hear your question.
I didn't think so. So, do you want to talk about the smoking topic?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about right now.
All right. So, there's a few prerequisite questions I asked before we start those conversations. So, do you want to continue?
Send the question.
All right. First question is: have you ever worked in or around the tobacco or cannabis industry?
No.
Have you ever used either of those substances?
Yes.
Do you mind sharing
I even planted my own.
Do you mind sharing what age you started using those substances?
Started using my stuff at like, what, 15?
Cool. Now the floor is yours.
What was the last question?
Huh?
What did you just say?
So
Like
the
2
floor
seconds
is yours. You may make any point you want
ago?
to
Okay.
make.
All right, cool. So I was like, I don't know why you so against the cannabis and everything. You know, not everybody want to be on pills. Not everybody. A lot of people got ADHD. They don't want to be diagnosed taking Concerta their whole life. Like my grandma took me off them pills and everything, and then cannabis was like an alternative to like not do pills at all
Does
anymore.
Granny think that?
Yep.
Granny thinks that.
Granny thinks that completely.
Interesting.
Yep. My auntie thinks it. My whole family thinks it. Like we don't like doing pills. We don't like doing none of that.
But they think the smoking is fine.
If you're okay with big pharma not knowing where them pills coming from, but because they're labeled with an FDA approved sign, you think it's okay to indulge, though, right?
But you'd think the same thing if cannabis was legalized, wouldn't you? Because it'd be big pharma
I think the
primarily.
same thing is when Suboxone's legalized, but people
yeah,
go and abuse it.
That was shuffling right there, right? So if it was legalized and put on your shelves, big pharma would have a hand to play in that. Where do you think the incentive is then?
No, I think the whole thing with people legalizing cannabis is that it's going to be shelved, and then it's going to be tampered with. So yeah, back then, we used to be all regular and everything. And then, now they legalize it. Now it's pushed through businesses and everything. Now
So,
you got weak weed
I've got
being
a question
sprayed
for
with
you.
terpenes and all this extra stuff.
Do you have a
You know?
do you have a problem with big meat? Pause. I mean, like people who kill a lot of animals.
Nah.
You ain't got no problem with big meat. That's interesting. Got big problem with big pharma. No problem with big meat. Interesting.
I like my meats.
So you got a problem with the people who make cures, but you got no problem with the people who make you sick. Interesting. Interesting.
So you think they're
consistency.
doing something with the meat too?
Oh, of course.
I mean, it's all wholesale.
Of course there are. They are. It's farming. There's profit incentive. There are things that have been grown in ways they shouldn't grow. So it's what it is. But it's just I was just testing for the consistency there, right?
Yep.
Interesting. So do you want to make?
What company makes the better meat? That's all I see.
You think there's company
Because
difference?
they all got it in the deep freezer.
Fam.
They all using the same hamburger meat, but we
You know-
compete.
do you know what you wanna
Who's
do,
better,
right?
McDonald's or Burger King, right?
You want to take a summer and go work in logistics, and you'll see what's really going on. But anyways, okay. Do you want to give your best reason why it shouldn't be banned?
Shouldn't be banned because you can make it naturally. If you don't trust businesses, if you don't trust the street dude that's delivering it to you, plant it your own self,
So
and you'll see
do you believe that
that is
something?
not
do you
not
believe-
bad.
Sorry. I just want to address one point before you move to the next one. Do you believe that something's good just because it's natural?
Yes.
That's a terrible way to think. That's a fallacious way to think, right? Something being natural doesn't automatically make it good.
Well, you have to know the purpose of it before you indulge and use it. Do you not?
That does make a difference, right?
So
Point
so
still
you think
stands.
naturally planting cannabis is going to like give you a detrimental
All right. So
uh,
before we
piece of your life or something?
go to that, right? Thinking that something is good because it's natural is a fallacy. I forget the exact name of it, but basically a fallacy is just a bad way of reasoning. Okay, it means there's a problem in your reasoning. So that's one thing you should address off the bat, right? Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's good. The next thing is when you're talking about natural cannabis or naturally occurring cannabis, it's called weed for a reason. Traditional bush weed, well, the last time it was around the 70s. That was below 10% THC quality. That is prior to the invention of the skunk cannabis plant, whether it's indica or sativa that you look at today. Okay? So what you're talking about, what you probably know to be cannabis based on your age, I'm assuming, isn't natural. Okay? It's genetically modified by humans.
You got sativa, you got indica, and then you got hybrids. Are you saying that everything that I have is a hybrid?
I'm saying to you, what you're indulging in today isn't natural. Even though you think that it's good because it's natural, you don't even have access to the natural.
And that is where we differ, because I do have access to natural
Okay,
plants
so
and seeds.
do you want to
everything
explain?
else.
Do you care to explicate on how you did that?
There's no reason to explain. There's already a market. There's
There you
already a
go,
market,
right?
whether that's from the streets,
There you go,
and
right?
you could get it from the
So
nuggets that you break
I'm pretty
apart,
sure. So are you
or
telling me? Let's just be clear, right? You're telling me that right now the cannabis that you grow, produce, and consume is the original cannabis that is lower than 10% THC.
you could get new seeds
You
and you
didn't
could get
answer
old
that.
seeds.
You didn't
That's
answer
literally
that.
what I'm saying.
You didn't
Yes,
answer
you
that.
could get your
So
hands on
so
the
right
original
now,
OG.
so right now the cannabis that you're cultivating and consuming is the original cannabis that is lower than 10% THC.
Yeah, you want some?
No, I don't. I just want to know if you're willing to commit to the truth on it.
I could plant a good yield for you.
Yeah,
I'll
so
send it in the
I'm
mail.
going to take that as a no. You're smoking modern cannabis, probably, right? You more than likely introduced to cannabis.
I smoke
from the modern
modern
type,
and
right?
regular cannabis.
I don't think you do, bro. With all due respect, right? Do you know, like, natural cannabis doesn't form in buds like the way that skunk that you consume does, right? It's considered bushweed.
Yes.
You know that, right? And that's what you're using.
That's what you like, right?
You're lying like a bitch, bro. So pathetic, right? Anyways,
It seems
your
like
main point,
it seems like you're just against cannabis because you had some type of bad experience with it, but you don't want to admit that.
that's a nice fallacious view, right? But anyways, what's your best reason why it shouldn't be banned?
Shouldn't be banned because it's not my problem.
Ah, okay.
Whose problem?
So
Whose
again, you're not
problem
really,
is it?
you're not
Is it
really
a majority
equipped.
problem?
Yes, of course, right? If the rights of
Who's
the
the
individual,
majority problem for?
if the rights of the individual damage the rights of the many, then that's a problem. Okay. So
Who's the majority problem for?
that's
Who
everybody.
is suffering off of cannabis right
That's
now?
everybody.
Without saying the white tea community.
What you think black people? This is how I know you're brainwashed, bro. If you
No,
consider,
no.
if
I
you
wanna hear the
consider,
truth,
no,
bro. Tell
yeah,
me.
I'll tell you the truth. If you want to consider the reality of black people's history in the Western world and how drugs have played into that from places like the CIA in your country, you think cannabis is there to help your dumbass? You don't know shit. I'm on the other side trying to pull
no,
you
I'm
out.
stupid. Okay.
Yeah, because you don't know what the fuck's going on. This brother's starving. Like, you don't know what's going on.
I'm
right?
starving.
Yeah,
I'm starving.
you don't
but
know
you're the
what's
one that's
going on,
trying
bro.
to beg
You're
everybody to
cultivating
stop.
cannabis, consuming cannabis as a black man in America. You think that's there for your benefit?
You think that stands for your benefit?
No, obviously not. That's
It
why
stands for my
I'm
benefit.
out.
I know already. I'm cool.
That's why I'm out. Right?
I'm
I'm trying to
Gucci.
help people like you, right? You don't understand how you're disproportionately affected by those things and how it plays into health outcomes and policing outcomes and economic outcomes and educational outcomes and developmental outcomes. You don't understand that. That's why you're there growing it and smoking it and thinking you're cool when you're actually the problem. Okay?
Nah, I'm not the problem.
Yeah, you're gonna realize when you get older. But anyway, do you want to make?
I don't use
Do you want to make a
cannabis for
good point?
gateways. I
Do
don't
you-
use cannabis
do you
to
wanna make a
other
good point?
things worse than what it is.
Do you want to make a good point why it shouldn't be banned? Right? Because you just said you don't care.
That is my point.
That you
because
don't care?
I can indulge freely off of it. I have not died off of it. I
So?
will never die off of it. I will never get OD'd off of my
Brother.
cannabis. I will never have any problems with my cannabis.
All right. So it
within
sounds to me.
the next 30 years.
It sounds to me
I will
like
be
that's your
completely
addiction
fine the
speaking.
way I am.
I truly doubt it. I don't think you're even fine right now. Like you're displaying all the signs of mental degradation, but sure.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah, really. Just like in a big way.
Yeah, bro
In a big
tripping.
way. Right? So
Yeah, you tripping, twin. It's all
I'm
good,
a
though.
twin
You
now, right?
tripping.
Bro, you need help,
You
fam.
vanilla as hell.
You need
It's
help,
all
bro.
good, though.
You need help. You know vanilla's black, right? Like you realize that? You wouldn't know what other natural plants look like, though. I'm pretty sure. Like, anyways, bro, try to bring up about race, and he doesn't even know his own position in the world. How sad? How sad is that? Like, foolish man indeed. Anyways, anyone else with some sense that wants to actually come up and talk? Like you haven't. This brother has a peak game. Like, anyways, good luck to you, mate. So, if no one else wants to come up, let's enjoy some games. Like, come on, what's wrong with these people? Eh? I don't know who's old or who's young in this conversation, to be honest with you. It's like, you learn, like, age doesn't afford everyone wisdom, unfortunately. Right? There's something to be said about dangers. I ain't got a build right now, it's just 5th playthrough, just doing whatever. Getting chomped by madness. But yes, I would like to hear some hot takes. Some unpopular opinions. Even some views about God, bro. I didn't even intend to be mean to him, but he just said some very silly stuff. So maybe like by being mean to him, it's like a light wake up nudge to someone else. Maybe. Or maybe not. So shit, Elysia, me. Oh my god, man. It's like people don't get it, right? If you just take a minute and you think about the actual, it's too much to get into, right? The systemic injustice layered with drug abuse, drug culture, how it's consumed, how it's produced, who's targeted. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that you would be disproportionately hurt as a black person from lower poor working incomes in any country than a middle class white person. So talking about the majority, right? It's just, bro, you're brainwashed, bro. This nigga right here, man. This nigga right here. It reminds me of a Dave Chappelle skit. You're oh gosh. Oh my. But yes, I would much rather talk about God or something interesting along those lines. If not, actually, you know, since there's no one calling in, let's check this game out. Bloody foolish guy, man. Tell me about race. It's like, get the fuck. Like, now, this is the kind of stuff that makes you want to, like, actually just immediately start writing a book or something. It's like, these are the people that need the help the most. Like, so here's the thing, Shiraz, right? I don't intentionally act arrogant, right? But you also got to understand your perception of me has nothing to actually do with me, okay? That also speaks to like structural racism and what people are supposed to be perceived as or who they're supposed to be. A good example of this is if you watch the World Cup, you watch certain black players playing in the European team like England, right? They just do the job, they hardly speak, they kick the ball, right? White fan at home says, he's too arrogant, right? What are the parameters? Right? Is that this guy is good at his job or he does something that you don't like? But what is the actual parameters that define this person as arrogant? Or is this just some, you know, unsettled or some social thing that makes you think this person should act this way and they're not conforming to my beliefs about them? Is it that, or is there something that is actually arrogant? Right? That's what you really need to understand. It's I may not explain it very well, but it's a reality, okay? But it doesn't mean I'm not being arrogant, because I probably have, right? But there's something worth considering. Right? Is it a reality or is it just a perception? But there you go.
Get it? Care.
Pretty much the same, bro. Pretty much the same, bro. I mean, yeah, again, that's a perception thing. It's not really something I'm going out of my way to do. But yeah, laughing is it's something I do because I like to laugh. Like it's healthy for you. It's like would you rather me say it with a complete straight face? It's just like nah, I don't think I could do that. I wouldn't even pretend because it wouldn't be authentic to me. But in terms of like gauging my empathy, maybe it's not easy to convey that, but you got to think about it like this. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I didn't care. Okay? But yeah, so it's up to you how you choose to take that. Anyways, let's go back to that car. Just certain subjects, bro, they really get you goat, don't they? So what's up with this game? I think tonight I'm gonna start Death Stranding maybe, or maybe we'll play some more Silent Hill.
Good hanging. Thanks, man. Be seeing you.
Why don't you come up here and explain that to me, KD? Personal liberties. Why don't you come up and explain that to me? Maybe that's true, Suarez. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a you thing and has nothing to do with me, you know? But Suarez, you're also more than welcome to come up and explain it if you think you can, alright? If you think you can. You're almost welcome. Just working right now. A lot of mental capacity being taken up there. Alright. But yeah, sure, man. Being willing to be polarizing is important, right? What's it saying? 2000. Yeah. Put it this way, right? If you just agreed with everything that came out of my mouth, there would be a bigger problem there. Okay? There'd be a way bigger problem there. If you even agreed with all my methodologies, or my methodology across what I do, right, there'd also be a problem there. And not to say that there shouldn't be some, you know, some level of agreement. But yeah, it's better that way. It's better that way, put it that way.
This is a simple task. If I have to tell you how to do it, you shouldn't be here.
Oh damn, she casted me out. What does she want me to do? This apparently. Or maybe not. I didn't even hear what she said to do. Come up here, KD. That's a straw man. To hear me say ban everything that's dangerous. It sounds like someone who can't cope with what's being said. Just have to make something up to say it. Argue with instead.
Call Rigby. I see him.
Oh, that's okay.
He's got a backpack.
Oh, there's always a
Could be
backpack.
an innocent mistake. Keep an eye on him and see where he's going.
So we got. You're not coming up. You can't talk. Why is that? You've got a lot to say in the comments,
Get him
though.
back on screen. We risk losing the asset.
Talking about, he's right there.
close on him. We need to monitor even the smallest of movements.
Right.
He's turned into the south corridor.
Anyway, after that crazy ass weed head, it sent the stream into a lull. So I think this is the perfect time for me to enjoy some private time. Maybe come back later tomorrow.
We need the room.
Yes, Rigby. Let's go. Come on.
So
Okay, what do
hopefully you learned something today.
RFID alert. Employ Matthew Conti, robotics.
Or
It's
not.
like a piece of the
You know what I
latest
mean?
PCB tech.
Or not.
That's a mind's eye.
What?
I'm guessing your neural and cognitive memory sites have been impacted, yes?
Jacob, this is Lars Okada, our chief technology officer.
Please, Lars is fine too.
What do you know about my implant?
He's clocking out quick. We need to put a tail on him.
Okay, I recommend an XCS stealth drone. Between range and speed, it would be more than adequate. Your implant is a very rare